Chapter 1. June 27th, 2115, 8:20 a.m. Yang Tian carried his backpack and arrived at the entrance of Tianxiong High School. Today was the day of the graduation exam, and also Yang Tian's last day in high school. Dear citizens, Shunwei Martial Arts Hall will be recruiting students from today onwards. The recruitment criteria are that you must be between 18 and 20 years old, healthy, able to endure hardships, and have a strong will. Any citizen who meets these criteria may register at Shunwei Martial Arts Hall. Please bring your identification with you when you register. Good luck. At this moment, a recruitment advertisement was playing on a loop on a billboard on a tall building opposite the school. Seeing this advertisement, Yang Tian could not help but get excited and clench his fists. In this era of mutant beasts, becoming a powerful martial artist was Yang Tian's dream. It was also the dream of many people in this era. Speaking of martial artists, one had to start from the year 2035. In March 2035, humans found microbes from Mars and brought them back. September 2035, the return capsule carrying this batch of microbes had an accident during the landing process and fell into the deep sea. 3 months later, the creatures in the sea showed obvious changes. Their bodies became extremely large and ferocious. They could even overturn an aircraft carrier. Before humans could react, the mutant beasts in the sea rushed into the coastal cities, and hundreds of millions of people died in the mouths of the mutant beasts. The coastal cities were destroyed, and humans were forced to migrate inland. After investigation, it was found that the cause of this change was the microbes brought back from Mars. This virus was later named the YS virus. The YS virus could cause animals to mutate and gain incredible abilities. However, the YS virus had no obvious effect on humans. In less than half a year, the YS virus spread to the entire continent. The mutant beasts on land also mutated. They multiplied in large numbers and devoured humans. Humans were forced to use nuclear bombs. However, in the end, not only were they unable to eliminate the mutant beasts, but they also catalyzed their abilities, causing the human territory to become even smaller. The era of mutant beasts had arrived. Humans had no choice but to unite and think of ways to resist the attacks of the mutant beasts. Fortunately, when humans were hunting exotic beasts, some of them would unintentionally consume the beast cores produced by the exotic beasts, suddenly becoming incomparably strong, possessing strength and speed that surpassed ordinary people. This kind of accident could actually reflect the intensity of the battle at that time. He couldn't use his hands, so he used his teeth to bite the exotic beast's head, but he didn't expect that he would swallow the beast core. Just like that, the first enhancer was born. In the years to come, there were more and more enhancers. In the process of fighting with the beasts, these people constantly summed up their experiences and combined them with their martial arts, creating all sorts of profound combat techniques. Enhancers who trained in combat skills had a huge increase in their battle prowess. Later on, they were called martial artists. The birth of martial artists marked the beginning of a new era for mankind. With the martial artists as the center, a large number of humans gathered and built a new city, establishing a new order. With the advent of the era of strange beasts, the living environment was extremely harsh. To the weak-willed, it was a disaster. To the brave, it was a feast for their rise. Yang Tian was filled with excitement as he walked through the school gate to greet the final exam of his high school career. 5 in the afternoon. Ring, ring, ring. The sound of the exam ending sounded. Yang Tian put down his pen and walked out of the classroom with his classmates. Yang Tian, how did you do? Yang Tian had only taken a few steps out of the classroom when a tall youth ran over and patted Yang Tian's shoulder from behind. Yang Tian turned around and shook his head with a bitter smile. So, I guess it's impossible for me to go to university. All right, how did you do? The tall youth scratched his head and said, My results were worse than yours. It's already a blessing from the heavens that I passed. Yang Tian, Zhou Hao, I was looking for you guys. Let's go. Let's go out to eat. Since we haven't left school yet, let's bring our girlfriends and get together. At this time, a gentle-looking youth wearing glasses ran over and smiled at the two of them. The tall youth's name was Zhou Hao. He was 19 years old, 8 meters tall, and as strong as a bull. The bespectacled youth's name was Su Fei. He was 18 years old, 7 meters tall, and looked a bit thin. Both of them were Yang Tian's good friends in school. The three of them took out their mobile phones and contacted their girlfriends. Soon, the three girls came one after another. The six of them chatted and laughed for a while before walking out of the school together. Among them, the girl who was wearing a white dress and had a ponytail was the most eye-catching. Her name was Qin Fei, and she was very beautiful. She was recognized as the campus belle in the school. Unfortunately, she was taken by Yang Tian, this ugly guy. In fact, Yang Tian also didn't know why Qin Fei liked him. He was born in a commoner family, while Qin Fei was a young lady from a rich family. Every weekend, there would be a full-time driver coming to pick her up. Yang Tian once asked Qin Fei about her family background, but Qin Fei just smiled and didn't answer. After that, Yang Tian never asked again. Love was so wonderful. It could bring two people of different statuses together. Zhou Hao's girlfriend was called Li Yin, and Su Fei's girlfriend was called Lu Qian. Both of them were good-looking. When they walked to the school gate, Li Yin held Zhou Hao's arm, while Su Fei held Lu Qian's shoulder. They looked very intimate. Only Yang Tian and Qin Fei walked side by side, without holding hands. Although the two of them were boyfriend and girlfriend, their relationship was limited to holding hands. However, Zhou Hao and Su Fei had made substantial progress in their relationship. This was because Yang Tian was shy and Qin Fei's family was strict. When the six of them just came out of the school gate, a luxurious black car drove over and stopped in front of them. The door opened, and a very handsome young man wearing a branded black suit came down from the back seat. The young man was holding a bouquet of flowers. He ignored Yang Tian and the others and came to Qin Fei. He handed the flowers to Qin Fei and said with a sincere face, "Qin Fei, be my girlfriend." Qin Fei knitted her brows and refused with a flat and firm tone. "Sun Yu, I won't like you. Please don't bother me again in the future." Sun Yu laughed and looked at Yang Tian with disdain. He then said to Qin Fei, "With your status, how can you like a poor boy? Even if you wanna, your family won't agree, because you belong to two different worlds." As soon as Sun Yu finished speaking, Qin Fei took the flowers from his hand and threw them on the ground. She then pulled Yang Tian's hand and said to Sun Yu, "It's none of your business who I like." After Qin Fei finished speaking, she pulled Yang Tian and walked along the road in front of the school gate. Sun Yu looked at Yang Tian's back and sneered. The good mood of the six people was ruined by Sun Yu. The three of them walked for more than 10 minutes and casually chose a Chinese restaurant. They ordered a few dishes and a box of beer. After the dishes were served, Su Fei poured everyone a glass of beer. He raised his glass and said, "Today, we finally graduated and will face a new future. I wish all of us a beautiful future. Come, cheers." Yang Tian, what are you going to do after graduation? Su Fei asked after drinking. Yang Tian looked at Qin Fei sitting next to him. His eyes were a little sad because he knew that he couldn't get into a university, but Qin Fei would definitely be able to. The two of them would be separated because of this. "I want to participate in the Shunwei Martial Arts Hall's entrance examination tomorrow and become a martial artist," Yang Tian said his dream. "Huh, my ambition is the same." Zhou Hao smiled and said, "Yang Tian, let's go together tomorrow." Yang Tian nodded. "Su Fei, what about you?" Zhou Hao asked Su Fei. Su Fei smiled mysteriously at everyone. "Take a guess." Everyone looked at Su Fei with a puzzled expression on their faces. Zhou Hao said, "Su Fei, your grades are so good. You must be going to university like Qin Fei." Su Fei smiled and shook his head. "Forget it. I won't hide it from you. I was accepted by the Academy of Electronic Engineering. I will report after the summer vacation." "Not bad. Congratulations." Everyone cheers. Zhou Hao raised his glass. At 8 o'clock in the evening, Yang Tian, who was slightly drunk, returned home. Yang Tian took out the key and unlocked the door. He gently opened the door and entered a warm home. "Dad, Mom, I'm back." Yang Tian put down his bag and looked at his parents who were sitting on the sofa and watching TV. Yang Tian's father was called Yang Lin, and his mother was called Wang Hong. They were an ordinary couple who worked in a food factory in the city. How was the exam? Yang Lin put down the TV remote control and asked Yang Tian to sit next to him. Not very good. I can't go to university. Yang Tian shrugged and smiled bitterly. Yang Lin was silent. Wang Hong got up and poured a glass of water for Yang Tian. It's okay if you can't go to university. You are already 18 years old. What do you want to do? If you don't have any ideas, then go to the factory. In this chaotic era, it's good if you can live a peaceful life like us. Yang Tian shook his head. Dad, Mom, I want to be a warrior like Grandpa. Yang Tian's voice fell. Yang Lin said loudly, No. Why? I have grown up. I have the freedom to choose my future. Yang Tian said with a puzzled face. Every time this matter was brought up, his parents firmly disagreed. Yang Tian knew that if his parents supported him, he would have a great chance of becoming a warrior by looking for his grandpa's friends who were as close as brothers. Yang Lin looked at his son and sighed. Warriors may seem glorious, but they have to fight with the exotic beasts outside the city all year round. They can lose their lives at any time. If your grandpa wasn't a warrior, he would still be living well. Although the days will be a lot harder, isn't it good for the family to be safe and sound together? Yang Tian was silent. He knew that no matter how many times he said it, his parents would not agree. Yang Tian went to his grandpa's room and picked up his grandfather's diary to read. Yang Tian's grandpa's name was Yang Song. He was a level 1 warrior when he was alive. The diary recorded the scenes of Yang Song fighting exotic beasts when he was alive. Every time he read the diary left by his grandpa, Yang Tian felt his blood boil. Becoming a warrior, fighting exotic beasts, and finally becoming an expert that attracted the attention of the world. This was Yang Tian's dream since he was young. After closing the diary, Yang Tian clenched his fist and decided to go to Shenwei Martial Arts Hall to participate in the assessment tomorrow, although the chance of being selected was very small. After leaving his grandpa's room, Yang Tian took a bath and returned to his room. After lying on the bed, Yang Tian called Qin Fei and chatted for a while. After hanging up the phone, he fell asleep with a sweet smile on his face. Chapter 2. At 6:30 in the morning, Yang Tian got up, washed up, put on a t-shirt and jeans, and changed into white sneakers. In order to give a good impression, Yang Tian also combed his short hair. Yang Tian's parents had to go to work, so breakfast was already prepared. Yang Tian drank a bowl of porridge, ate a piece of bread, and opened the door to go out. Seeing their son in a hurry, Yang Tian and Wang Hong sighed helplessly. They knew what Yang Tian was going to do, because during this period, the city news was broadcasted every day. Almost every year, the martial arts schools would recruit new people to attract new blood for the school. But not everyone can enter the martial arts school, become an apprentice, and finally become a warrior. It depends on luck. One must know that every year, they recruit 1,000 people, and the number of young people who sign up is as many as tens of thousands. The elimination rate is very high. Shenwei Martial Arts School is one of the 3 major martial arts schools in Tianqiong City. It has a government background, so it can advertise on TV. As for the other dojos, they directly recruited enhancers who had consumed beast nuclei. After leaving the house, Yang Tian called Zhou Hao and arranged to meet at the entrance of Shenwei Martial Arts School, and then they will go to the interview together. Tianqiong City is very big, covering more than 500 square kilometers. After Yang Tian hung up the phone, he got on the bus to Shenwei Martial Arts School. Half an hour later, Yang Tian appeared at the entrance of Shenwei Martial Arts School. As soon as he got off the bus, he was seen by Zhou Hao. Yang Tian, I arrived 10 minutes earlier than you. I helped you register and got a number. Zhou Hao handed Yang Tian a piece of paper with a number printed on it and said, Thank you. Yang Tian took the number and smiled. We are all brothers. No need to be polite. Zhou Hao hammered Yang Tian and said, Did you and Qin Fei do that last night? You have already graduated, and there are not many opportunities in the future. Yang Tian knew what Zhou Hao meant. He smiled and said, Our relationship is not as fast as yours and Lian's. Last night, we just strolled around for a while, and then her driver picked her up. Zhou Hao looked at Yang Tian and shook his head helplessly. He felt that Yang Tian was too honest. The two of them began to line up, waiting for the test. There were many people who came to participate in the assessment. Becoming a martial artist was not a dream that only Yang Tian had. There were about 1,000 people participating in the assessment. It was only at noon that it was Yang Tian and Zhou Hao's turn. The assessment process was very simple. First, the blood was tested and the internal organs were scanned to see if there were any congenital diseases. Then came the strength and endurance tests. Yang Tian and Zhou Hao's bodies did not have any problems. Next was the strength and endurance test. Standing in front of the testing machine, Yang Tian used all his strength and hit the machine. With a pung sound, a number was quickly displayed on the machine. 230 kilograms. Seeing the test number, Zhou Hao laughed and patted Yang Tian's shoulder. He said, "Yang Tian, I didn't expect that although you don't look as strong as me, your strength is not inferior to mine at all." Yang Tian nodded. "Don't underestimate me. I practice every day." Zhou Hao's strength was 233 kilograms. Compared to the previous assessment records, the two of them were already at the upper level in terms of strength. In a previous assessment, the average strength of the young people who participated in the assessment was about 195 kilograms. The recorder at the side quickly recorded the test data of Yang Tian and Zhou Hao. Looking at their age, it was really not bad to be able to achieve such results. Next was the endurance test. The process of the test was also very simple. It was to carry a heavy backpack and run on the track set up in the dojo at an average speed of 100 meters per minute. The longer you lasted, the stronger your endurance. If you lasted for more than an hour, you would pass and have 60 points. For every 10 minutes after that, you would gain 5 points until you couldn't run anymore. When Yang Tian and Zhou Hao took the test, there were already many people taking the test. Some had just started and looked calm. Some had already run for a long time and were panting. There were also some who moved forward with difficulty and looked like they would collapse at any time. Begin. After carrying the backpack, Yang Tian and Zhou Hao began the test. In less than an hour, Yang Tian felt his legs become heavier and the backpack on his back also became heavier. "No, I must get a high score. I must become a martial artist." Yang Tian gritted his teeth and continued to persist. An hour was finally up, and he got 60 points. The weight of the backpack was precisely calculated and was just enough for most people to last for about an hour. In other words, most of the people who participated in the assessment would be eliminated at this stage. 60 points was too low. "I must become a martial artist." With this belief, Yang Tian gritted his teeth and persisted. 1 hour and 10 minutes, 65 points. 1 hour and 20 minutes, 70 points. 2 hours and 10 minutes, 95 points. Yang Tian finally couldn't hold on anymore and fell to the ground. Zhou Hao, who had finished the test 10 minutes in advance, couldn't help but be shocked and quickly ran to Yang Tian. The paramedics who were waiting at the side immediately acted and gave Yang Tian first aid. A few minutes later, Yang Tian finally woke up. Seeing Zhou Hao's worried look, Yang Tian laughed. After the assessment was completed, Yang Tian and Zhou Hao nervously waited for the results. It wasn't until 7 o'clock in the evening that the final results came out. "How is this possible? My score is higher than yours. Why were you accepted by the martial arts school and I wasn't? Why? When the results came out, Yang Tian couldn't believe the results. Because Zhou Hao got the acceptance letter from Shunwei Martial Arts School, and Yang Tian only got a rejection letter. It said, "Sorry, you are not suitable to be a warrior." Such a simple sentence shattered Yang Tian's hope. In order to be able to enter Shunwei Martial Arts School after graduating from high school, Yang Tian got up every day before dawn and began to exercise. It was the same for 3 years. Even the bad weather didn't stop. He was very confident in this assessment, but the result made Yang Tian very surprised and incomprehensible. "Yang Tian, don't be excited. If you can't do it this time, there will be a next time. In the future, when I become a warrior and obtain the Beast Corps, I will help you become an evolver and let you enter several other martial arts schools. Zhou Hao understood Yang Tian's current mood and constantly comforted him. After a while, Yang Tian finally calmed down and said to Zhou Hao, "Let's go. I will come back next year. Anyway, I am still young. I don't believe that I can't pass the exam." Just as the two of them left Shenwei Martial Arts School, a young man appeared in their line of sight. This person looked at Yang Tian with a smile and walked towards Yang Tian. "Yang Tian, you didn't get accepted, right? Do you know why?" After stopping in front of Yang Tian, the young man looked at Yang Tian and said in a joking tone. Yang Tian and Zhou Hao both recognized this person. This person was Sun Yu, who presented flowers to Qin Fei at the school gate yesterday. "Is it your doing?" Yang Tian gritted his teeth and said. Sun Yu laughed. "Of course. Your results are actually not bad. In this assessment of tens of thousands of people, your results can at least rank in the top 100. What a pity. You are a toad who wants to eat swan meat. You actually want to be together with Qin Fei. I will let you know that you are just a grasshopper on the ground. You will never be an eagle in the sky." F***CK. Just as Sun Yu finished speaking, Yang Tian couldn't help but shout and punch towards Sun Yu's face. However, Yang Tian's fist was only halfway out when it was caught by Sun Yu and was casually pushed by Sun Yu. This push didn't seem to be strong, but Yang Tian was thrown to the ground. "You want to fight with a level 1 martial artist like me? You're still far from it." Sun Yu looked at Yang Tian, who was on the ground, and said disdainfully, "If it wasn't for the fact that I want to see you fall from grace after being rejected by the Qin family, I would have killed you long ago. Young man, you still have a lot of things to understand." After Sun Yu finished speaking, he took out a piece of tissue from his chest pocket and wiped his hands. He threw on Yang Tian's chest and then walked away. Yang Tian climbed up from the ground and gritted his teeth as he looked at Sun Yu's back. He secretly swore that one day he would definitely trample this guy under his feet to avenge today's humiliation. Chapter 3. Yang Tian returned home in a depressed mood. Without eating, he locked himself in his grandfather's house. When Yang Lin and Wang Hong saw Yang Tian's expression, they knew that Yang Tian was not accepted by Shenwei Martial Arts Hall. Although they were worried about Yang Tian, they were relieved, because in this way, Yang Tian would not have to face those terrifying ultra beasts. Yang Lin and Wang Hong were like most parents. They hoped that their children would live a safe and peaceful life. Every time Yang Tian was in a bad mood, he would go to his grandfather's room and look through the things his grandfather left behind. Rumble, no one knew what time it was, but there was a rumble of thunder outside and a flash of lightning. Amidst the rumbling of thunder, Yang Tian opened the bottom drawer of the kitchen and took out a golden egg. This egg was bigger than a goose egg. The surface was smooth, as if it was made of gold. But this egg was obviously not made of gold because it was much lighter than gold of the same size. According to the diary, this egg was accidentally picked up by Yang Tian's grandfather when he was training in the wild and then secretly brought it back. Because from this egg, it was very likely that an ultra beast cub would be hatched. The eggs of ultra beasts, or beasts that had just been born and had not opened their eyes, were extremely rare and precious. Such a cub could be cultivated into a pet beast. Pet beasts were ultra beasts that were raised by humans. They could become a warrior's combat partner, which was equivalent to raising the warrior's strength by 1 level. Warriors who had pet beasts would be envied by other warriors. But this kind of good thing was like buying a lottery ticket. The probability of winning the lottery was too small. After obtaining this golden egg, Yang Tian's grandfather had tried every method he could think of. The only thing he hadn't done was to burn it with fire. In the end, the egg still hadn't hatched. In the end, Yang Tian's grandfather deduced that this was an unfertilized egg laid by an ultra beast. It was no wonder that it was abandoned in the wilderness. The surface of the golden egg had already been touched by Yang Tian's grandfather and Yang Tian's hands until it was very smooth. A layer of paste was almost forming on the surface. Looking at the thunder and lightning outside, Yang Tian took the golden egg to the window. He wanted to close the window, but the wind was already blowing and the sound of rain could be heard. Boom! At this moment, a bolt of lightning flashed in the sky, followed by a clap of thunder. Yang Tian was so shocked that he almost dropped the golden egg in his hand. A gust of wind blew, and the rain flew in, landing on Yang Tian's face and the golden egg in his hand. At this moment, Yang Tian felt the golden egg in his hand tremble slightly. Ah! Yang Tian cried out in surprise. He didn't even bother to close the window and brought the golden egg in front of him to take a look. At this moment, a few more raindrops fell on the egg. The golden egg trembled again, and something strange happened. The rainwater that fell on it actually soaked into the eggshell. This egg was absorbing rainwater? Yang Tian's eyes widened, and he remembered the description in his grandfather's diary. He thought to himself, when his grandfather was trying to find a way to hatch this egg, he also soaked this egg in overheated water, but nothing happened. But now, so it was rainwater. Yang Tian suddenly thought of something. He excitedly ran out of the room with the egg, opened the door to the living room, and ran up the stairs to the rooftop. The building that Yang Tian and his family lived in had 8 floors. It was built more than 20 years ago, and now it looked very old. There was no elevator at all. Yang Tian ran to the rooftop in one breath. Standing at the entrance of the turret, Yang Tian put the golden egg into the rainwater. After a while, perhaps the golden egg had absorbed enough rainwater. Yang Tian saw the golden egg trembling under the light of the lightning. Amidst the hua-hua sound of the rain, a soft ka-ka sound could be heard. After another 10 minutes, a bolt of lightning lit up, and Yang Tian saw that a crack had finally appeared on the golden egg. It's coming out. Yang Tian was a little excited. He was not afraid of the mutated beast coming out of its shell, because most mutated beasts would not take the initiative to attack humans when they were just born. Another few minutes passed. Finally, the eggshell broke open, and a dragon-like creature crawled out, making a squeaking sound. A dragon. After seeing this Xiaolong, Yang Tian was so shocked that his mouth opened wide. He had thought that what came out of the egg would be a bird, a snake, a crocodile, a lizard, or other reptile, but he had never thought that a dragon would crawl out of the egg. In the exotic beast catalog published by the Warriors, there was definitely no such mutated beast as a dragon. Yang Tian was sure. Even if some mutated beasts had the word dragon in their names, they had nothing to do with mythical creatures like dragons. But now, a dragon less than a foot long appeared before Yang Tian's eyes. For a moment, Yang Tian was stunned. A bolt of lightning streaked across the sky. Boom! Another clap of thunder sounded. Yang Tian was shocked by this clap of thunder and finally came back to his senses. At this time, Xiaolong, who had just come out of the shell, was eating the eggshell. Soon, all the eggshell was swallowed into its stomach. Squeak, squeak. After swallowing the eggshell, Xiaolong squeaked happily and jumped onto Yang Tian's body. It drilled into Yang Tian's collar and hung on Yang Tian's chest, using its head to intimately support the skin on Yang Tian's chest. Xiaolong was very fast, like a bolt of lightning. Yang Tian did not have any reaction during this process. Yang Tian carefully pulled open his collar and looked at this little guy. This was a green Xiaolong, covered in thin scales. It had a snake's body, an ox's head, antlers, and eagle claws. It was completely in line with the physical characteristics of an eastern dragon. Xiaolong's sharp claws dug into Yang Tian's skin, but Yang Tian did not feel any pain. His skin did not bleed, and Xiaolong's body was tightly attached to Yang Tian's skin, as if it was attached to Yang Tian's body. Yang Tian did not have time to think too much. After confirming that this Xiaolong would not cause him any harm, he pulled up his collar and turned to go downstairs. Hurry up and eat. You haven't eaten dinner yet. Yang Tian entered the house and was seen by his mother, Wang Hong. Wang Hong smiled and reminded Yang Tian to eat dinner. Mom, I'm not hungry, Yang Tian said and hurried back to his room. Suddenly, there was a Xiaolong hanging on his chest. No matter who it was, they probably would not be in the mood to eat. Watching her son close the door, Wang Hong sighed. Yang Lin came out of the bathroom at this time. Seeing his wife sighing, he smiled and said, "Don't worry about this kid. He'll be depressed for a few days." You know his temperament since he was young. After returning to the room, Yang Tian closed the door and locked it. He took off his t-shirt, pulled off the Xiao Long hanging on his chest, and held it in his hand. Squeak, squeak. The little blue dragon made a sound of dissatisfaction. Although it was dissatisfied with Yang Tian's behavior, the little blue dragon did not use its claws to scratch Yang Tian's hand. It only opened a pair of big eyes and looked at Yang Tian pitifully. Yang Tian looked at this little guy curiously. He felt that it was too novel. After being put down by Yang Tian, the little blue dragon ran around the room. It seemed to be very happy, and from time to time, it would make a squeak squeak sound. If it wasn't for the heavy rain outside, Yang Tian's parents would have heard it. Knock, knock. There was a knock on the door. Yang Tian hurriedly got up and opened the door. Yang Tian's mother was standing outside the door, holding a steaming cup in her hand. If you don't want to eat, drink some water. You were in the rain just now. Don't catch a cold, Wang Hong said and handed the cup to Yang Tian. Then, she told Yang Tian to leave the food in the refrigerator for him. If he was hungry, he could just heat it up. After closing the door, Yang Tian sat on the bed with the cup in his hand. At this time, the little blue dragon jumped onto Yang Tian's shoulder. It opened its mouth and spat out a white bead the size of a little finger. The bead fell into the cup in Yang Tian's hand and made a dang sound. Yang Tian was stunned. He looked at the little blue dragon on his shoulder and found that the little guy's expression suddenly became a lot more dispirited. Even its eyes dimmed. Looking at the bead in the cup, it seemed to have started to melt and was rapidly shrinking. The water in the cup gradually turned milky white. When the water was about to turn into milk, the little blue dragon suddenly jumped onto Yang Tian's wrist. It stretched its head into the cup and put the bead that had shrunk by a third into its mouth. As soon as the bead entered its mouth, the little blue dragon immediately recovered its original color. Dragon Pearl, Yang Tian said in surprise. Squeak, squeak. The little blue dragon made a sound at this time and used its 2 claws to cover its mouth. Yang Tian suddenly understood what it meant and drank the water in the cup in one gulp. As soon as the water entered his stomach, Yang Tian felt as if he had drunk ginger soup. His whole body was hot, and it was as if he had drunk a lot of wine. His mind became more and more blurred, and he wanted to sleep. After putting the cup on the bedside table, Yang Tian fell on the bed and fell asleep. At this time, it was exactly 9 o'clock in the evening. Yang Tian's phone suddenly rang, making a pleasant ringtone. The caller ID showed the 2 words Xiaofei. It turned out to be Yang Tian's girlfriend, Qin Fei. Yang Tian slept very soundly and was not woken up by the ringtone. After a minute, the ringtone finally stopped. Chapter 4. Yang Tian, who was sleeping soundly, had a dream. He dreamed that he had become a dragon, roaming the vast earth. No matter what kind of beast it was, after seeing him, they all bowed their heads and ears, appearing to be extremely respectful. With a roar of his beast, the whole world trembled, and the wind and clouds changed color. This was a powerful feeling, which made Yang Tian feel very comfortable. At 6:30 in the morning, Yang Tian, who was having a beautiful dream, was awakened by the alarm he set on his phone. Yang Tian rubbed his eyes and got up from the bed. Oh, so it was a dream. This dream is really cool. Yang Tian yawned and muttered to himself. When he turned his head, he saw a little blue dragon lying next to his pillow, sleeping soundly. Huh, it's not completely a dream. Yang Tian laughed. Because the dream seemed so real, he thought that the little blue dragon also appeared in the dream. Picking up the phone, Yang Tian found a missed text message from Qin Fei. The content was to ask why he didn't answer the phone and if something had happened. Yang Tian remembered that he drank the water that the little blue dragon soaked in the Dragon Ball last night. Soon after, he felt very sleepy and unknowingly fell asleep. He wanted to call Qin Fei immediately, but seeing that it was not even 7 o'clock, Qin Fei must be sleeping. Yang Tian habitually went out and began to exercise. Yang Tian had a characteristic: no matter what kind of troubles he had, after sleeping, he would be fine the next day. Perhaps it seemed that there was nothing, but in fact he was suppressing his troubles in the bottom of his heart and trying to make himself happy. As soon as Yang Tian started to run, he found that he was completely different from yesterday. His whole body seemed to have endless strength. At this time, there were very few pedestrians outside. Yang Tian did not have to worry about bumping into people, so he quickened his running speed. Starting from a main road in front of the 8-story building, he ran 5 kilometers to the right and then ran back. The round trip was about 10 kilometers. Normal people would feel very tired after completing this task. However, after years of practice, Yang Tian felt very relaxed. Basically, he would leave at 6:35 a.m. and return home at around 7:30 a.m. Then, he would take a shower, have breakfast, take a bus at 7:50 a.m., and arrive at the school gate at around 8:20 a.m. But today, because Yang Tian kept increasing his running speed, he only used 20 minutes to run 4 kilometers. Moreover, he did not feel tired. He estimated that he could still increase his running speed, and he would be able to complete it in about 10 minutes. Yang Tian could clearly feel that his body had become stronger. Other than speed and endurance, what about strength? Yang Tian looked around to see if there was anything he could use to test his strength. Robbery. Catch the thief. At this moment, a woman's scream suddenly came from the side of the street. Following that, a young man in a black leather jacket ran out with a pink satchel in his hand. Behind him, a curly-haired woman in high heels chased after him. However, she was too slow. In the blink of an eye, the young man had opened up a distance of more than 10 meters. Tianxiong City's public security was usually pretty good. This kind of thing rarely happened. At least, Yang Tian had only seen it a few times in his life. At this moment, he didn't think too much and immediately gave chase. At this moment, Yang Tian didn't care about his stamina. He sprinted as fast as he could. The thief was already 100 meters away from him, but he caught up with him in less than 10 seconds. Yang Tian blocked the thief's path. "Brother, don't get in my way. Otherwise, I'll stab you to death." The thief took out a foot-long dagger from his waist and pointed it at Yang Tian. He was panting as he threatened. Yang Tian frowned and said in a low voice, "Put down the bag and you can leave." If it was before, Yang Tian might have been afraid when he saw the dagger in the thief's hand. However, there was no fear in his mind now. "You're asking for it." The thief suddenly shouted and stabbed the dagger at Yang Tian. Yang Tian's eyes narrowed. He suddenly realized that the thief's movements had become very slow in his eyes. "I knew it. My body has been strengthened. My reflexes have also surpassed a normal person's." Yang Tian thought excitedly. He raised his hand and grabbed the thief's wrist. Then he twisted it forcefully. Crack! The sound of bones breaking could be heard. Yang Tian twisted with all his might and broke the thief's wrist. Ah! The thief clutched his wrist and rolled on the ground. Yang Tian smiled and looked at his hands. He thought that his strength had indeed increased. To be able to break a person's wrist, he would need at least twice the strength of a normal person. The alarm sounded in the distance. Yang Tian came to his senses and realized that it would be troublesome to stay here. He left the scene as fast as he could. Yang Tian returned home before 7:30 a.m. If it was in the past, Yang Tian would be sweating all over when he came back from running. His clothes would be wet. However, his activities were more intense than usual. His body was only sweating slightly. Yang Tian's mother, Wang Hong, had just finished making breakfast. When she saw that Yang Tian had returned, she asked Yang Tian to tidy up and eat. Yang Tian agreed. He returned to his room and looked at the little blue dragon. The little blue dragon was still sleeping soundly. Yang Tian didn't want to disturb it. He took a thin blanket and covered it. Then, he took a clean set of clothes into the bathroom and took a cold shower. After changing into a clean white t-shirt and a pair of jeans, Yang Tian hurriedly drank 2 bowls of porridge. Then, he returned to his room and picked up his phone to call Qin Fei. "Hello, little Fei. I slept early last night. I didn't hear your call." Yang Tian explained as soon as the phone connected. However, an old man's voice came from the phone. "I'm little Fei's grandfather. You're Yang Tian, right? Come over today. Jade Mansion District, Villa 18. After the other party finished speaking, he hung up the phone. The phone beeped. Little Fei's grandfather? Why does he want to see me? With doubts, Yang Tian took his wallet and left his room. After greeting his parents, he opened the living room door and went downstairs. The Jade Mansion district was a large villa district. It was located at the foot of a short mountain in the center of the city. The environment was the best. It was where the rich and high-level martial artists lived. Yang Tian took a taxi to the entrance of the Jade Mansion district. After getting out of the car, he walked towards the gate. However, he was stopped by a security guard with a gun. "My name is Yang Tian." Yang Tian reported his name. He thought that Qin Fei's grandfather must have told the security guard to call him here. Sure enough, the security guard saluted him. "Please come in." Yang Tian quickly arrived at the entrance of Villa number 18 as he followed the house numbers in the villa area. From the outside, this villa didn't look luxurious. Instead, it looked a little old. However, it was bigger than the surrounding villas and had an independent garden. When Yang Tian arrived, the door opened. A middle-aged man smiled and said to Yang Tian, "Yang Tian, Qin Lao is waiting for you inside. Please come with me." "Okay." Yang Tian nodded. Soon, Yang Tian was led to the living room on the first floor of the villa. Chapter 5. As soon as he entered, Yang Tian saw a gray-haired old man sitting on the sofa, looking at him with a smile. "Are you Grandpa Qin?" Yang Tian scratched his head, feeling a little embarrassed. The old man nodded kindly. "My name is Qin Zhengyang." After that, he extended his hand and made an inviting gesture to Yang Tian. "Come and sit." Yang Tian sat down opposite the old man. At this moment, he seemed a little reserved. He thought to himself, "This seems to be the rhythm of meeting the parents. Children these days are all precocious. They've just reached adulthood, and they're already in a hurry to find a partner." Qin Jingyang sighed helplessly and said, "Yang Tian, Xiaofei likes you, but do you think you have the qualifications and ability to have Xiaofei?" Yang Tian didn't expect Qin Fei's grandfather to suddenly ask such a question. He didn't know how to answer for a moment. Qin Jingyang then said, "It doesn't matter whether you have the qualifications or not. The potential of young people is limitless. If you can become a level 4 martial artist before the age of 25, I'll agree to your marriage with Xiaofei. Our Qin family is a martial artist family. Xiaofei's parents are both level 5 martial artists. Xiaofei's husband can't be an ordinary person. What do you think of this condition?" If it was before yesterday, Yang Tian might not know what to do if he encountered such a situation. However, now that he had extraordinary strength, it shouldn't be a problem for him to join the Yang Wei and Yu Wei martial arts dojos other than Shun Wei martial arts dojos. "All right." Yang Tian stood up and nodded firmly. Qin Jingyang smiled. "I saw your assessment results yesterday. It's very good. If it wasn't for Sun Yu's interference, you would definitely have been accepted by Shun Wei martial arts dojo and become a level 1 martial artist within 3 years. Xiaofei even asked me for help for you. This child really put in a lot of effort for you. However, I rejected her. Do you know why?" Yang Tian then realized that Qin Fei had been paying attention to his assessment. She must have known that he wasn't accepted yesterday. Yang Tian was very touched. He felt that he must have studied for 8 lifetimes before meeting Qin Fei in this life. Hearing Qin Zhengyang's question, Yang Tian was stunned and shook his head. Qin Zhengyang said in disdain, "The dojo has changed. It can't nurture good talents. If you want to become a true martial artist, you have to go outside the city and fight with the strange beasts. Through constant battles, you can stimulate your potential to the greatest extent and create a battle skill that suits you. Of course, this will be very life-threatening. You can lose your life at any time, just like your grandfather, Yang Song." Half an hour later, Yang Tian walked out of the gate of number 18 villa. Yang Tian was about to leave when suddenly a series of rapid footsteps sounded from inside. Yang Tian was very familiar with the sound of these footsteps. He turned around with anticipation and looked inside the door. As expected, after a while, Qin Fei appeared in front of him. Qin Fei looked like she had dressed up meticulously. She was wearing a white dress and crystal high heels. She even put on some light makeup. Xiao Fei. Yang Tian looked at the even more beautiful Qin Fei and was stunned for a moment before calling out in surprise. Qin Fei walked quickly to Yang Tian and said to Yang Tian, "Yang Tian, I'm sorry. I can't help much. I don't know what you said to Grandpa, but don't worry. I'll wait for you." After Qin Fei finished speaking, she kissed Yang Tian on the lips, turned around, and ran back to the villa. Hee. Yang Tian licked his lips. There was the smell of lipstick. He couldn't help but scratch his head and laugh foolishly. The next day at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, more than 100 kilometers away from Tianxiong City, Huangqiu City, along the broken streets, Yang Tian carefully looked for a temporary residence. After the world changed, in order to resist the invasion of the strange beasts, the martial artist organizations gathered all their resources and chose some cities that were easy to defend and hard to attack to build safe zones. Now, there were more than 100 safe zones in the world, and Tianxiong City was one of them. The defense of the safe zones was extremely tight. Ordinary people could live there without worry. They didn't have to worry about the attack of the strange beasts because the safe zones were equipped with the latest weapons and the most powerful martial artists. With the safe zones as the center, the perimeter of 50 kilometers was designated as a warning zone. There were martial artists patrolling the warning zone at all times. If there were any strange beasts invading, they would immediately notify the defense center of the safe zones and formulate a response plan. Outside the warning zone was the danger zone. There were many strange beasts in the danger zone. Some people who wanted to become strong would look for low-level strange beasts in the danger zone and kill them. They would have a chance to obtain the beast cores in the bodies of the strange beasts to strengthen themselves and give them the qualifications to become martial artists. The beast cores were a type of crystal in the body of the strange beasts. They contained powerful energy. After humans consumed them, their bodies would be strengthened and their physique would surpass that of ordinary people. The ruined city that Yang Tian was in, Desolate Hill City, belonged to the intersection of the danger zone and the warning zone. There weren't many strange beasts here. After Yang Tian left the city, he rushed here immediately. Yesterday, after a long talk with Qin Fei's grandfather, Qin Zhengyang, Yang Tian decided to take an unusual path of martial artist development. That was to be like his grandfather, Yang Song, and the rest of his generation. They would go to the danger zone outside Tianxiong City and continuously fight strange beasts in a cruel environment. They would grow step by step and become powerful martial artists who had survived hundreds of battles. Yang Tian was sure that Qin Zhengyang wasn't harming him. He was using the thoughts of a powerful martial artist to plan a path for him. This path was cruel. Success, obtain love, and become a powerful martial artist who attracted the attention of others. Fail. Lose your life. It was that simple. After leaving the villa, Yang Tian returned home. At night, he packed up his grandfather's equipment. After leaving a letter for his parents, he left home with the little blue dragon. Yang Tian explained his thoughts in the letter. Yang Tian believed that his parents would understand him, but they would probably be sad for a while. This was something that couldn't be helped. If an eagle wanted to spread its wings and soar high, it had to leave its parents and endure the wind and rain alone before it could grow up. Furthermore, Yang Tian wasn't without any backing. His starting point was much higher than his grandfather's generation. At the very least, he could be considered an enhancer who had consumed a level 1 beast core. His physique was far superior to ordinary people. There was also the little blue dragon. Yang Tian felt that this little fellow wasn't an ordinary strange beast. It had abilities that he couldn't imagine. It should grow up quickly and become his battle companion. Yang Tian entered a 5-story building that was still in good condition. After inspecting the interior, he decided to use this place as his temporary residence. He would rest here at night and hunt strange beasts during the day. The building that Yang Tian found had been abandoned for a long time. The corridors were covered in thick dust. After walking around the building a few times, Yang Tian finally found a bedroom that he was satisfied with on the 3rd floor. The bed in the bedroom hadn't rotted yet. The bedding and clothes in the kitchen were all washed and stored in vacuum compression bags. They weren't oxidized, and were almost exactly the same as they were 10 years ago. The daily necessities were also very complete. The only thing missing was water. This was easy to solve. He could get a large amount of drinkable water by the river outside the city. Chapter 6. Due to the exotic beasts, the human population had been greatly reduced. Most of the industrial production had stopped, and the natural environment was suddenly free of pollution. After decades of natural purification, the air and water were many times better than before the outbreak of the YS virus. Since the sky wasn't dark yet, Yang Tian left the house after decorating his room. He took an empty plastic bucket and went to a small river at the edge of the city to fetch some water. Just as he walked to the river and was about to fill the bucket with water, two black silver-toothed wolves suddenly jumped out from the reeds by the river. Silver-toothed wolves were a common type of exotic beast in this era. There were many of them, and they were classified as level 1 exotic beasts. These mutated wolves were called silver-toothed wolves because their teeth emitted a silver-white metallic luster. They were extremely sharp and could bite off an adult's thigh with just one bite. They were extremely ferocious. These two silver-toothed wolves were twice the size of normal wolves, and they were as strong as calves. It was Yang Tian's first time facing such ferocious exotic beasts. He couldn't help but feel a little scared. The two silver-toothed wolves bared their teeth at Yang Tian and stared coldly at him. They slowly approached Yang Tian, only stopping when they were about 7 or 8 meters away from Yang Tian. They lowered their bodies slightly, ready to pounce on Yang Tian at any moment. Yang Tian had already tossed the plastic bucket away and pulled out the dagger at his waist, preparing to defend himself. Suddenly, one of the silver-toothed wolves leaped high into the air, pouncing at Yang Tian. Yang Tian's eyes narrowed. The silver-toothed wolf in the air suddenly slowed down by half. Even so, the silver-toothed wolf's lightning-fast speed was still much faster than a normal human. In the blink of an eye, the silver-toothed wolf's sharp front claws were on Yang Tian's shoulders. It opened its mouth wide and bit at Yang Tian's neck. At this moment, Yang Tian could smell the stench coming from the wolf's mouth. Yang Tian was no longer an ordinary human. His strength, speed, and reflexes were much stronger than ordinary people. Before the silver-toothed wolf could bite his neck, he tilted his body slightly and grabbed the silver-toothed wolf's neck with his left hand at lightning speed. The dagger in his right hand fiercely stabbed into the silver-toothed wolf's body and pulled the dagger with all his might. Poof! Blood spurted out from the wolf's chest and splashed onto Yang Tian's body. Yang Tian's saber had directly pierced through the silver-toothed wolf's heart. It was a fatal blow. Bang! Yang Tian threw the softened corpse of the silver-toothed wolf on the ground, wiped off the blood on his face, and looked at the remaining one vigilantly. Wolves were very cunning animals. Seeing that their companion was instantly killed by the human in front of them, they knew that they were no match for him. So they fled into the reeds by the river with their tails between their legs. Phew! Yang Tian exhaled a long breath. This was Yang Tian's first battle. Although it was scary but not dangerous, the process made Yang Tian very nervous. His mental fortitude was also very good. But for others, even if their bodies were strengthened, they would probably turn around and run away in fear after encountering such a situation. Looking at the silver-toothed wolf that he killed, Yang Tian smiled. Dinner was ready. The meat of the silver-toothed wolf was edible, and it tasted pretty good. Right. Beast core. Yang Tian squatted down. Just as he was about to cut off 2 of the wolf's legs and bring them back, he suddenly had an idea. He thought of the beast core, something that could strengthen the human body. Although he could only find 1 beast core after killing 10 low-level exotic beasts. Yang Tian used the dagger to cut open the silver-toothed wolf skull that was as hard as iron, and used the dagger to poke inside. In the afterglow of the setting sun, a white light flashed in the wolf's brain. Seeing the white thing, Yang Tian's eyes immediately widened. Because a level 1 beast core was white, Yang Tian carefully picked out the white thing inside. It was an oval-shaped white beast core about the size of a pinky finger. It looked like a bird's egg. A beast core was the essence of an exotic beast. It contained a huge amount of energy. Scientists analyzed it and found that this was a type of crystal formed after the exotic beast died due to a mutation caused by the YS virus. Looking at the white level 1 beast core, Yang Tian was excited. He did not expect his luck to be so good. The first exotic beast that he killed by himself actually had a beast core in its body. Soon, a problem appeared. Yang Tian was hesitant about whether he should consume the beast core. He realized that the ability he displayed was close to that of an enhancer who consumed a level 1 beast core. Beast cores were not easy to come by. Even if it was a level 1 beast core, it was still extremely rare. If he consumed it and found that it did not increase his ability, wouldn't it be a waste? Forget it. I'll think about it when I get back. This is not the place to consume the beast core. Yang Tian raised his head and looked around. He was prepared to keep the beast core, get some water and wolf legs, and go back for a big meal. He had not eaten fresh meat in a long time. Squeak! At this moment, a rat-like squeak came from Yang Tian's chest. Immediately after, the little blue dragon rushed out from Yang Tian's collar. It opened its mouth and took the beast core from Yang Tian's hand. Then, it returned to Yang Tian's chest. The little blue dragon's actions were as fast as lightning. Yang Tian did not have time to react at all. This time, Yang Tian did not have to hesitate anymore. The little blue dragon had already made the decision for him. Hey, my beast core, give it back to me. Yang Tian reacted. He pulled open his collar and shouted at the little blue dragon hanging on his chest. However, the little blue dragon climbed onto Yang Tian's neck and rubbed its head against Yang Tian's cheek. You really know how to act obedient. Yang Tian's anger dissipated. He grabbed the little blue dragon and stuffed it into the pocket of his new jeans. Then, he walked towards the river. When Yang Tian was done washing the plastic bucket and filling it with water, the little blue dragon came out of Yang Tian's pocket and jumped to the river. It lowered its head and drank some water. Then, it jumped onto Yang Tian's shoulder. It opened its eyes wide and looked around. Its eyes were filled with curiosity towards this world. Yang Tian did not have time to care about this little guy. After filling the bucket with water, he used the dagger left by his grandfather to untie the 2 wolf legs. Carrying the water and wolf legs, he walked back with large strides. At this time, the sky was getting dark. He had to rush back before dark to find some dry wood to roast the wolf legs. The night was the world of exotic beasts. Even if it was a warrior, staying in the wild at night was a very dangerous thing to do. Yang Tian quickly returned to the small building. He dismantled some wooden furniture in the few rooms in the building. He carried it back to the suite he found and lit a fire in the living room. The 2 wolf legs were skinned by Yang Tian. He washed them with the river water. Then, he used the dagger to make many cuts on them. He sprinkled some salt and chili powder on them, skewered them on metal skewers, and roasted them over the fire. The little blue dragon was lying on Yang Tian's shoulder the whole time, watching all of this curiously. Here you go. The wolf legs were cooked. Yang Tian cut a piece of meat from the wolf leg and passed it to the little blue dragon. Yang Tian was joking. He did not expect the little blue dragon to eat roasted meat. However, he did not expect the little blue dragon to jump down from Yang Tian's shoulder and hug the piece of meat that Yang Tian passed to it. After landing on the ground, it lay there and ate with relish. In a few minutes, it swallowed the palm-sized piece of meat into its stomach. Squeak, squeak. After eating the piece of meat, the little blue dragon stood up again. It looked at Yang Tian eagerly and kept calling out, "More!" Yang Tian cut another piece of meat and threw it to the little blue dragon. The little azure dragon lifted its 2 front paws and hugged it before continuing to chew. After it finished eating, it called out to Yang Tian, "Damn, the thing you ate is twice the size of your body. Where did it go?" Yang Tian looked at the little blue dragon in surprise. As he spoke, he cut an even bigger piece of the wolf leg. Half an hour later, Yang Tian did not eat a single bite. The entire wolf leg was in the little blue dragon's stomach. Yang Tian could only roast the remaining wolf leg again. After roasting it, Yang Tian learned his lesson. He ignored the little blue dragon's pitiful look and ate until he was full. You're wrong today. You actually stole my level 1 crystal core and didn't even tell me. That's not right. If you want, you can tell me first. As he spoke, half of the wolf leg unknowingly entered Yang Tian's stomach. The meat roasted from this wolf leg was at least 5 kilograms. After Yang Tian was full, he was surprised to find that his appetite had increased by a lot. If it was before, eating more than half a kilogram of meat would make him feel uncomfortable. This was definitely because he drank the water from the little blue dragon's Dragon Ball. Since his strength had increased, the energy required for movement would also increase. Of course, he would need to replenish more energy. Yang Tian gave the remaining half of the roasted wolf leg to the little blue dragon. One man and one dragon ate 2 roasted wolf legs and were very satisfied. After Yang Tian boiled some water in a stainless steel basin and drank it, Yang Tian checked the door and windows. He took out his phone from his backpack and dialed Qin Fei's number. "Hello, Yang Tian?" Qin Fei's pleasant voice came from a phone. "Xiao Fei, I miss you so much." Yang Tian was very excited when he heard Qin Fei's voice. He vividly described what happened today to Qin Fei. From the phone, Qin Fei's screams came from time to time, especially when Yang Tian said that he encountered a silver-toothed wolf. After calling Qin Fei, Yang Tian dialed his home's number. Yang Tian's parents first reprimanded Yang Tian, then gently reminded him that he should be careful and not force himself. If he could not bear it, he could go back at any time. Chapter 7. In a daze, Yang Tian felt something licking his cheeks. It was sticky and itchy, and there was also the smell of blood in his nose. He suddenly opened his eyes and sat up. The little blue dragon jumped into Yang Tian's arms and rubbed its head against Yang Tian's face. It even stuck out its tongue to lick Yang Tian's chin. The smell of blood that Yang Tian smelled became even stronger. It turned out that the smell of blood came from the little blue dragon's body. Yang Tian grabbed the little blue dragon's slender body. He wanted to see what this fellow did while he was asleep. There was actually such a strong smell of blood on its body. The little blue dragon's body was also sticky, but that wasn't the most important thing. The most important thing was that its 2 claws were actually holding a white object, a beast core. Seeing this white, finger-sized object that looked like a bird's egg, Yang Tian's eyes widened. The little blue dragon handed the beast core to Yang Tian, as if it was asking for credit, and its mouth let out squeaking sounds. Yang Tian reached out his hand, and the little blue dragon placed the beast core in Yang Tian's palm. "Where did you get this beast core?" Yang Tian asked curiously. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The little blue dragon let out a series of squeaks, but Yang Tian couldn't understand it. However, seeing that its body was covered in blood, it probably had a fight with an exotic beast. He didn't know how its small body killed a level 1 exotic beast. This was a safe place. Yang Tian put down the little blue dragon, wiped the beast core with his sleeve, and directly put it into his mouth, swallowing it with saliva. Seeing Yang Tian swallow the beast core, the little blue dragon jumped to the side, opened its eyes wide, and silently looked at Yang Tian. Yang Tian looked at the little fella's eyes and suddenly realized that it was a very intelligent fella. He had scolded it last night, and it had actually found him a rank 1 beast core as compensation. That was too much of a monster. After swallowing the beast core, Yang Tian felt a warm flow in his stomach after 10 minutes, and it began to spread throughout his body. This feeling was similar to the feeling he had when he drank the Dragon Ball water. Half an hour later, the warm flow spread throughout Yang Tian's body, making him feel very comfortable, as if he was soaking in hot water. At this moment, a strong sense of sleepiness hit him, and Yang Tian unknowingly closed his eyes. When Yang Tian woke up, he felt that his strength had increased by quite a bit. Yang Tian looked at his watch and realized that it was already 3 in the afternoon. The little blue dragon was lying on the bed beside him, curled up, as if it was asleep. Yang Tian opened the curtains and looked outside. This was the season when the weather was changeable. Yesterday the sun was still shining brightly, but today the sky outside was gloomy, as if it was going to rain. This kind of weather wasn't the time to go out, but if he didn't go out to hunt exotic beasts, he would be hungry. Yang Tian used his finger to scratch the little blue dragon, waking it up. Come, let's go out and find something to eat. After waking the little blue dragon up, Yang Tian said with a smile. The little blue dragon let out a squeak and happily jumped into Yang Tian's arms. And just like before, it hung on Yang Tian's chest. In this world where exotic beasts ran rampant, if one wanted to become stronger, they had to continuously hunt exotic beasts and obtain beast cores from them. After swallowing them, their bodies would be strengthened. When one became stronger, their combat skills would improve, and they would be able to obtain more resources. This was actually a cyclical process. After leaving the house, Yang Tian quickly walked to the riverside where he fetched water yesterday. Not far downstream, there was a bridge. After crossing the bridge, one would be able to reach the danger zone a few kilometers away. In the danger zone, an exotic beast could charge out from the bushes, woods, or behind a dilapidated building at any time. After Yang Tian crossed the bridge, he began to be careful and on guard at all times. This time, he didn't plan to go too far. His goal was only to find something to eat. Ever since he strengthened himself, Yang Tian realized that he got hungry easily. After walking for a while, the little blue dragon suddenly came out of Yang Tian's arms, jumped to the ground, and rushed into the bushes not far away. Immediately after, a series of sounds came from inside. Squeak, squeak. At this time, the little blue dragon's cry was also heard. When Yang Tian heard this sound, he thought that the little blue dragon was in danger and immediately ran over. Before Yang Tian even got close to the bushes, a huge green python darted out from the bushes, bringing with it a gust of wind. This huge python was more than 10 meters long and thicker than a human's thigh. Mutated green python. The name of this python suddenly appeared in Yang Tian's mind. Yang Tian memorized all the information about exotic beasts. This was a compulsory course in high school. Because he knew the information about exotic beasts, he could accurately estimate their strength when encountering them. This was a level 1 green python. The main way to distinguish exotic beasts was to feel the aura they emitted. The stronger the exotic beast, the stronger the aura. It was very difficult for ordinary people to distinguish the level of exotic beasts from their aura, but enhancers who had consumed beast cores could easily do so, as if it was an innate ability. When Yang Tian saw this huge python, he had a conclusion in his mind. This huge python that darted out from the bushes seemed to be in great pain because the little blue dragon was lying on top of its triangular head, scratching its head with its claws. The little blue dragon's claws were very fast, and only an afterimage could be seen. In a few breaths' time, it had clawed through the huge python's skull and killed it. Gigi. After killing the huge python, the little blue dragon cried out happily and took out a white beast core from the huge python's head. This time, Yang Tian finally knew how the little blue dragon defeated a level 1 exotic beast. Its claws were simply unbreakable. One must know that the bones of a level 1 exotic beast were as hard as granite. The little blue dragon held the beast core and jumped onto Yang Tian's body, handing it to Yang Tian as if it was presenting a treasure. When Yang Tian received the beast core, he felt that his luck was simply too good. In less than a day, he had actually obtained 3 level 1 beast cores. The first beast core was due to luck, the second and now the third were all thanks to the little blue dragon. After the little blue dragon handed the beast cores to Yang Tian, it jumped onto the python's corpse and cried out a few times. Yang Tian smiled, understanding the little blue dragon's meaning. This little one was also hungry. In this kind of weather, meat would stink if left out for too long. Yang Tian kept the beast core and used a dagger to skin the python. He only cut out about 20 kilograms of python meat and put it in a plastic bag that he carried with him. He carried it back to Desolate Hill City. The taste of python meat was not bad, because there was plenty of time. After returning to the 5-story building, Yang Tian cut the python meat into small pieces, mixed it with seasoning, pierced it with a metal skewer, and roasted it over the fire. After roasting a skewer, the little blue dragon ate it. Yang Tian had no complaints now, because the little blue dragon had found a level 1 beast core for him. If he sold it at the black market in the restricted area, he could get hundreds of thousands of martial coins. After eating more than 10 kilograms of roasted python meat, the little blue dragon was finally satisfied. Until now, Yang Tian still did not understand how this little guy's stomach could contain so much meat. Could it be that there was a mysterious space in its stomach? Just like yesterday, after Yang Tian was full, he checked the doors and windows, went to the bathroom to relieve himself, took a cold shower, and changed into the new clothes he found in the kitchen. Chapter 8. The next day, Yang Tian woke up early. It was past 7 in the morning. After eating some leftover barbecue from last night, Yang Tian packed up his equipment, carried his grandfather's combat backpack, and set off again with the little blue dragon. This time, Yang Tian wanted to hunt level 2 beasts and find more beast nuclei. He wanted to exchange them for what he needed in the restricted area outside Tianxiong City. Hunting beasts and obtaining their nuclei could not only help him gain more beast nuclei, but he could also train his combat skills. To humans, this was an unfortunate world, but to the strong and the rich, it was an extremely blessed world. After consuming the beast nuclei, one's body would no longer fall sick. Unless one was killed by humans or beasts, one could live up to 150 years old and die naturally. With a long life, one would have more time to enjoy life. Other than Tianxiong City, there were also many people living in the restricted area. Those who lived in the restricted area, especially the strong men, would always find opportunities to try their luck in the free area. They would not act alone, but in groups of dozens. They would use their savings to buy weapons and search for low-level beasts. If they were lucky, they would find the beast nuclei after killing the beasts. After selling them, everyone would get a share of the money. Even if they did not find the beast nuclei, they could bring back a large amount of meat as rations, as well as the materials from the beasts. After selling them, they could also make some money. This was a normal situation. What was unexpected was that after finding the beast nuclei, dozens of people would fight each other to get it. The last person who survived would have the chance to become an enhancer. Yang Tian had seen this in his grandfather's notebook. Yang Tian followed the path he took yesterday and crossed the bridge. After walking for an hour and entering a mountain path, he heard gunshots in front of him. Out of curiosity, he followed the path and ran quickly in the direction of the gunshots. 5 minutes later, Yang Tian appeared behind a large rock by the side of the road. He stuck his head out and looked ahead. He saw more than 10 people shooting at each other. These people were shooting and cursing at the same time. From time to time, someone would be shot and fall, screaming in pain. From their curses, Yang Tian could tell that these people were fighting over a newly obtained Grade 1 beast nucleus. Yang Tian naturally wouldn't care about this kind of thing. He retracted his head, leaned against the big rock, and waited quietly. 10 minutes later, the gunshots suddenly stopped. Yang Tian thought that the winner had been decided. Just as he was about to get up to check on the situation, he heard a scream. Then someone shouted, "Let's stop fighting. It's a level 2 exotic beast. Run." Zizi. Immediately after, there's the sound of thunder and lightning, and the sound of messy footsteps could be heard. Yang Tian curiously stood up and looked behind the big rock. He saw 8 or 9 people being chased by a huge yellow lizard. The running speed of these people was obviously not as fast as Giant Lucid. The person who fell behind was curled up by Giant Lucid's long tongue and was swallowed into its stomach. Level 2 tank lizard. Yang Tian was shocked. He immediately recognized this giant lizard. Its body was 10 meters long and 3 meters tall. When it crawled, it was like a heavy tank. The trees in front of it were broken, and the big rocks were crushed by it. These people were killing each other for the sake of obtaining the beast nucleus. They didn't deserve any sympathy. Looking at their running speed, Yang Tian estimated that they would be swallowed by the tank lizard before they could reach here. But seeing the fear and despair on their faces, the newbie Yang Tian's heart softened. He pulled out his dagger, went around the big rock in front of him, and went up to meet them. There were 7 people left. These people saw Yang Tian rushing up with a dagger, as if they saw their savior. They could tell that Yang Tian was at least an enhancer. because only an enhancer could have such speed. Ah, the person running at the back was curled up by the tank lizard's tongue. Just as his scream came out of his throat, he was swallowed into the stomach of the tank lizard. This wasn't an American movie where people could still survive after being swallowed into the stomach of a python. The stomach of the tank lizard was filled with highly corrosive digestive fluid. It could turn a person into a skeleton in an instant. Even metal could be melted by its digestive fluid. Being swallowed by the tank lizard was a dead end. There were 6 people left. Yang Tian passed by them one by one and went up to meet the tank lizard. Seeing that someone actually took the initiative to send himself to death, the tank lizard paused. It opened its mouth wide and spat out a long tongue covered in mucus towards Yang Tian. The tank lizard's tongue was extremely fast. As long as an ordinary person entered its attack range, they wouldn't be able to dodge its tongue. But Yang Tian had gone through enhancements. Whether it was strength or speed, he surpassed an ordinary person. When the tank lizard's tongue was about to reach him, he stopped abruptly and rolled to the side of the road, dodging the tank lizard's tongue. Taking the opportunity when it retracted its tongue, Yang Tian stomped on the ground and rushed under the tank lizard's stomach. Humans have been fighting with exotic beasts for decades, and they had come up with many combat techniques to deal with them. For example, when dealing with the tank lizard, it was best to tangle with it and not give it the chance to spit out its tongue. Its tongue was simply too powerful. It spat out and retracted at lightning speed. The tank lizard's weakness was its stomach. Although its entire body was covered in hard and smooth scales, the scales on its stomach were the thinnest and thinnest. After rushing under the tank lizard's stomach, Yang Tian stabbed the dagger hard into the tank lizard's stomach. He then pulled the dagger, leaving a wound a few feet long on the tank lizard's stomach. In that instant, Yang Tian saw the membrane in the tank lizard's stomach. Although the stab was deep, it didn't pierce into the tank lizard's stomach and hurt its internal organs. Feeling the pain, the tank lizard let out a pained cry. Its forelegs trembled rapidly. Suddenly, it rushed forward over 10 meters and slapped down with its huge tail. Seeing the tank lizard's tail slapping down, Yang Tian didn't dare to take it head-on. He crouched down and rolled on the ground. Bang! The tank lizard's huge tail slapped the ground, creating a loud sound. The rocks on the ground were smashed into smithereens. Yang Tian had just gotten up when the tank lizard turned around and opened its mouth. Damn! Yang Tian was shocked. He got up and threw himself forward. A gust of wind blew past him from behind, bringing with it a fishy smell. Yang Tian knew that the danger was not over yet. This big fellow's tongue was incomparably nimble. When it retracted its tongue, it could even turn. Taking advantage of the moment when the tank lizard retracted its tongue, Yang Tian used both his legs to kick off a large rock. Borrowing the reaction force, his body slid several meters along the hard ground. The danger was not over yet. When Yang Tian's body stopped, the tank lizard opened its mouth again and stuck out its tongue, which was covered in mucus, at Yang Tian. Thankfully, there was a pine tree with a diameter of a bowl beside Yang Tian. He took the opportunity to dodge behind the pine tree. The tank lizard's crimson tongue brushed past the pine tree. When it retracted its tongue, it curled around the pine tree. With a tug, the tank lizard uprooted the pine tree and tossed it aside. Chapter 9. F***CK. That's too powerful. Yang Tian shouted. Before the tank lizard's tongue retracted from the tree trunk, he immediately ran towards the forest in front of him. Yang Tian shouted as he ran, Xiaolong, come out and help. If you don't act now, no one will make barbecue for you in the future. Squeak, squeak. The little blue dragon squeaked in Yang Tian's arms and suddenly rushed out of Yang Tian's clothes. The little blue dragon's speed was the fastest that Yang Tian had ever seen. It was like lightning. There was a rumbling sound behind him. The tank lizard had already caught up in these few seconds. Fortunately, Yang Tian came to the side of a big tree. He dodged behind the tree and turned around to look. The little blue dragon's body was even smaller compared to the tank lizard. However, its speed was extremely fast. At this time, it had already jumped onto the tank lizard's back. The little blue dragon jumped a few times and came to the tank lizard's head. It waved its claws and scratched one of the tank lizard's eyes. The tank lizard's eyes were attacked. It stuck out its tongue and rolled towards the injured eye. However, the little blue dragon had already jumped away and landed on the ground. The tank lizard let out a series of strange sounds as if it was completely angry. Its body kept spinning as if it was looking for the little blue dragon on the ground. The tank lizard's eyes were actually its biggest weakness. It was not easy to attack when it was not blind. However, this was the best time to attack. While Xiao Long ran around the tank lizard and attracted its attention, Yang Tian rushed towards the tank lizard again. He suddenly jumped high and stabbed the dagger in his hand into the tank lizard's remaining intact eye. Then he kicked off the tank lizard's head and his body shot out. This time, the tank lizard was no longer a match for Yang Tian. After losing its eyes, the tongue of the tank lizard had lost its function. Yang Tian took out his remaining dagger and used it to cut off a pine branch that was as thick as an arm. With a few cuts, the tip of the branch became sharp. Holding the 2-meter-long branch, Yang Tian rushed to the tank lizard's abdomen and stabbed the branch into the wound under its abdomen. He even stirred it a few times, turning its internal organs into a pile of mush. Then, Yang Tian fled. Boom, boom, boom. Yang Tian stood about 20 meters away with his arms crossed as he watched the tank lizard struggle in pain. He believed that it wouldn't be long before this big guy died. No matter how strong the tank lizard's vitality was, if its internal organs were damaged, it would not be able to survive. At this moment, Yang Tian was looking forward to it. The higher the level of the exotic beast, the higher the chances of it producing a beast core. A level 2 exotic beast had a 30% chance of producing a beast core. After struggling for an entire hour, the tank lizard finally laid down, motionless. From the looks of it, it was already dead. The cautious Yang Tian picked up a rock and threw it at the tank lizard, hitting its head. Seeing that it did not react, he walked over carefully with his dagger in hand. Yang Tian pulled out the dagger he stabbed into the tank lizard's eye and finally let out a long sigh of relief. After this battle, Yang Tian was extremely tired. His body was dyed red by the tank lizard's blood. Next, he had to open up the tank lizard's head and see if there was a level 2 beast core inside. Yang Tian used the dagger to cut open the tank lizard's scalp, then used the dagger to dig continuously. After spending a lot of effort, he finally dug out a fist-sized hole. Yang Tian's luck was really good. He used the dagger to dig around in the brain and found a thumb-sized yellow beast core. Because of its size, the beast core did not have much luster. Perhaps it was because the energy inside was scattered. Yang Tian looked at the beast core and put it into his inner pocket. The little blue dragon did not snatch the level 2 beast core like last time. Instead, it returned to Yang Tian's chest and continued to hang there. It even closed its eyes as if it was asleep. It was already noon. It was time to go back. When Yang Tian kept the dagger and picked up the backpack that was dropped, he was about to go back the way he came. The 6 people who escaped earlier walked over with guns on their backs. Seeing the 6 of them, Yang Tian furrowed his brows and raised his guard. These people all had guns in their hands. His body could not withstand bullets, and he could not be compared to exotic beasts with rough skin and thick flesh. Brother, thank you. If it wasn't for you, the few of us would be dead. The bald man in the lead said to Yang Tian with a smile as the 6 people approached. Yang Tian grinned, revealing his white teeth. He waved his hand and said, "It's nothing, right? Why haven't you left yet?" The bald man smiled and said, "We stayed to see if we could help. In the end, you were too powerful. You actually killed the tank lizard alone." After the bald man finished speaking, he extended his hand to Yang Tian and said, "My name is Wang Wei. Nice to meet you." Although Yang Tian was wary of these 6 people, they did not show any hostility. Yang Tian extended his hand and shook Wang Wei's hand. Wu Wei turned around and introduced them to Yang Tian. "These 5 are my brothers, Li Feng, Zhao San, Sun Ming, Lin Zhong, and Lu Hao." Yang Tian shook hands with the 5 of them one by one and introduced himself. "My name is Yang Tian. Brother Yang, We're treating today. I wonder if you'll do us the honor? We all want to get to know someone as powerful as you, Wang Wei said with a smile. Yang Tian hesitated for a moment and nodded. Seeing Yang Tian agree, Wang Wei said with a smile, Brother Yang, you're straightforward. Let's go. Take our car back to the warning area. We have a good bar there. There are a few girls inside who just came and are still fresh. I can introduce them to Brother Yang. When Yang Tian heard Wang Wei's words, he knew that this guy was not a good person. When he thought of some of the previous conversations, he felt that there was something strange in it. After Wang Wei finished speaking, he turned around and led Yang Tian along the road. When they left the mountain path and walked on a wide asphalt road, Yang Tian saw 3 black SUVs parked in front. In this era, it was not common to have a car. It could be seen that Wang Wei still had some influence in the warning area. Wang Wei pointed at the 3 cars and said, Brother Yang, you came from another road on foot, right? This is the only place where you can park your car. As Wang Wei spoke, he quickened his pace. Wang Wei's other companions deliberately slowed down their pace and gradually distanced themselves from Yang Tian. Do it. Suddenly, Wang Wei turned around and roared. Yang Tian's eyes narrowed slightly. He rolled on the ground and dodged behind a big rock on the side of the road. Bang, bang, bang. Almost at the same time, intensive gunshots rang out. The intensive bullets streaked past Yang Tian's arm. One of the bullets brought a few drops of blood. The rock that Yang Tian used to dodge was still small and could not cover his entire body. Fortunately, Yang Tian was vigilant and always paid attention to the surrounding situation. Once he found something wrong, he immediately dodged. Otherwise, in this open area, he would have been shot into a sieve. Chapter 10. This happened in an instant. Wang Wei did not expect Yang Tian's actions to be so fast. Previously, after Wang Wei and the others escaped, they wanted to drive away immediately. However, a level 2 core was too tempting for them. The 6 of them gathered together and discussed for a while. They decided to wait here for a while. If Yang Tian died, they would immediately drive away. If Yang Tian won and found a level 2 core from the tank lizard, they would find an opportunity to kill Yang Tian and snatch the level 2 core. This was still a high probability. They determined that even if Yang Tian won in the end, he would be exhausted and would need to rest and relax. As long as they could get close to Yang Tian, they had a 50% chance of killing Yang Tian. What Wang Wei did not expect was that before they even opened fire, Yang Tian had already dodged to the side and hid behind a large rock by the side of the road. However, it did not matter. Even if the guns could not hit Yang Tian, there was still lightning. Use lightning, Wang Wei shouted at this time. The gunshots stopped. Yang Tian smiled coldly. He thought that these people might not have seen the power of an evolver. In this short period of time, it was Yang Tian's opportunity. When Wang Wei shouted and the gunshots stopped, Yang Tian quickly turned around and threw out a dagger. Pooh! The dagger pierced right between one of the people's eyebrows. Yang Tian did not stop moving. He threw out the remaining dagger and it hit another person's chest. The people who were killed by Yang Tian were Sun Ming and Lu Hao. Yang Tian's memory was very strong. When Wang Wei introduced them, he remembered their names. After throwing out 2 daggers, Yang Tian did not have any more weapons. He thought to himself that when he came out, he should have brought a gun. Who would have thought that he would encounter people who wanted to kill him? To Yang Tian, this was a mistake. Outside the city, if one wanted to survive, one had to be wary of not only mutated beasts, but also their own kind. Seeing Yang Tian kill 2 people in the blink of an eye, the rest of the people were scared. They unconsciously turned around and ran. Wang Wei secretly scolded the 3 disappointing fellows. He pressed the 2 lightning bolts in his hand and threw them towards Yang Tian. Lightning was a new type of weapon. After it exploded, it covered an area of more than 10 meters. Within this 10-meter radius, both humans and exotic beasts would have to endure the attack of the high-voltage electric current. After experimenting, ordinary humans were unable to withstand this kind of electric current. Only powerful martial artists and exotic beasts wouldn't be in danger. Wang Wei's plan was to first stun Yang Tian and then shoot Yang Tian. The plan was beautiful, but the reality was cruel. Before the two lightning bolts he threw out landed on the ground, they were caught by Yang Tian. Yang Tian quickly threw them back at him. Although the lightning bolts were powerful, they had a delay of 3 to 4 seconds. Wang Wei didn't expect to delay for a moment before throwing the grenades. Actually, even if he had thought of it, Yang Tian wouldn't have given him the time. ZZ. The two grenades exploded near Wang Wei, releasing a powerful electric current. Wang Wei's body happened to be within the range of the electric current. His body seemed to have gone crazy, his eyes rolling back as he trembled uncontrollably. When the powerful electric current disappeared, his stiff body fell to the ground. Yang Tian had already flipped over the rocks he used to hide behind. He picked up an automatic rifle from one of the corpses and fired at the 3 people who were about to get on the car. Yang Tian had learned how to shoot in school. It was a compulsory course in this era. After being strengthened, Yang Tian's control over guns had also increased. His shooting skills had become more accurate. In the blink of an eye, the remaining 3 people were all killed. Yang Tian came to Wang Wei's body and fired 2 more shots at Wang Wei's body. This was just in case. Yang Tian was growing step by step. This time, he learned how to be ruthless. If he didn't let these people get close to him in the beginning, Wang Wei and the others wouldn't have had a chance to do anything to him. Yang Tian wouldn't have gotten into this kind of trouble. After all, Yang Tian hadn't been out of the city for long. In some aspects, he was still relatively immature. However, his growth was very fast. This time, there were still benefits. There were 3 cars. At least in the future, he wouldn't have to walk to many places. He could also bring more things with him. The doors of the 3 cars were open, and the car keys were all there. Yang Tian searched the 3 cars and found a carton of purified water, a carton of biscuits, and a carton of canned beef. These things were all produced in Tianxiong City. They were sold at a high price in the security zone outside the city. It seemed that Wang Wei and the others were living a good life. Unfortunately, humans were never satisfied. Even if their lives were good, they still wanted to live even better. After checking the 3 cars, Yang Tian suddenly remembered that these people were fighting over a level 1 beast core. Then, one of them must have a level 1 beast core. Yang Tian searched the 6 corpses, but he couldn't find it. Maybe the level 1 beast core was on one of the people who died in the gunfight. Or maybe it was on one of the people swallowed by the tank lizard. A level 1 crystal core could be sold for 500,000 martial coins in the security zone. It would be a pity to give it up. Yang Tian returned to the place where he fought with the tank lizard. He searched the 5 corpses, but he still couldn't find it. It seemed that the beast core had been swallowed by the tank lizard. Since the beast core had entered the tank lizard's stomach, it must be gone. Yang Tian's trip this time was not without gains, in addition to the items on the 6 people from before. He collected 10 intact automatic rifles, more than 10 magazines, more than 20 electric grenades, and more than 30,000 martial coins. What a pity! If only I could find a level 1 beast core. 500,000 martial coins. Yang Tian sighed and shook his head as he leaned against the front of the car. Squeak, squeak. At this moment, the little blue dragon in Yang Tian's arms let out 2 squeaks and came out. Then, the little guy jumped into a car. After a while, it jumped out of the car with a white beast core in its paws. How did you find it? Yang Tian took the beast core from the little blue dragon's paws and chuckled. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The little blue dragon let out a boastful squeak. Although he couldn't understand what the little blue dragon was saying, Yang Tian knew that the little blue dragon must have a special ability to sense beast cores. It could be said that it had a keen sense of smell when it found the beast core in the car. But what about the beast cores in the bodies of the exotic beasts? It couldn't possibly smell it, right? With this little guy, at least the process of hunting exotic beasts and finding beast cores in the future would be much easier. It wouldn't be like other people who relied on luck. After putting the weapons and some daily necessities into the trunk of a car, Yang Tian looked at the corpses, started the car, and left. He didn't need to deal with these corpses. In less than a night, they would become a pile of bones. The world outside the city was just that cruel. When he drove back to desolate Hill City, it was only 3 in the afternoon. Yang Tian didn't plan to go out to hunt exotic beasts again. Instead, he found 4 empty plastic buckets, drove to the river, and filled them with water. Then, he returned to the 5-story building where he was temporarily staying. Chapter 11. Early the next morning, Yang Tian drove to the restricted area outside Tianxiong City. The outside of Tianxiong City and the inside of the city were 2 different worlds. The inside of the city was a peaceful environment. The lives of the people inside were no different from before the outbreak of the YS virus. The only difference was that their range of activity was much smaller, and they could not leave the city as they wished. The restricted area outside of the city was a chaotic world without order. Here, as long as you were powerful enough, you could do whatever you wanted. Even if you killed someone, the city's administrators would not pursue the matter. Yang Tian had come here to sell the 2 level 1 beast cores and use the money to exchange for the equipment he needed. Yang Tian's grandfather, Yang Song, had been a level 1 martialist. After his death, he had left behind a lot of good things. However, most of them had been sold by Yang Tian's parents. Part of the money was used to maintain their living expenses, and the other part was used to pay the city's management fee. If not for this, Yang Tian's family would be living 10 times harder than they were now. Yang Tian might not even be able to enroll in high school. Yang Tian felt that the 2 alloy daggers his grandfather had left behind were not enough to deal with exotic beasts. For example, during the battle with the tank lizard, if he had had a longer weapon, he would have been able to deal a fatal blow to the tank lizard. Things would not have been so troublesome after that. The situation in the security zone outside the city was a little special. Tents surrounded the 100-meter-tall city walls. Be it the adventurers outside the city or the ordinary people living here, they all lived in tents. Because exotic beasts could come at any time, it was more convenient to move tents. Even if they were destroyed, they could be bought at a cheaper price. Yang Tian drove around the perimeter of the restricted area and found a large green tent. There was a large black banner hanging above the tent. On the banner were a few large words written in white slanted font. Buying and selling beast cores, selling weapons, best price. The exclamation mark was the biggest after the words. Beside the large tent were many smaller tents. They were all closed during the day. Yang Tian drove the car to the entrance of the big tent and got out of the car with his backpack. He then locked the car and walked quickly to the big tent. When Yang Tian arrived at the entrance of the big tent, a small tent beside it was opened. A big man in a black vest walked out while holding up his pants. Behind this big man, a woman in pajamas was yawning. She said to the big man, "Big brother, come often in the future." The burly man turned around and chuckled before waving his hand at the woman in pajamas. Yang Tian only glanced at it, then lifted the curtain of the big tent and walked in. This large tent was like a small weapons market. When Yang Tian walked in, he saw all kinds of firearms, from pistols to powerful sniper rifles. There was even a Gatling gun. Other than all kinds of firearms, there were also all kinds of lightning bolts of different shapes and purposes. These were all weapons used by ordinary people. In a real battle with exotic beasts, aside from team battles, these weapons were useless against exotic beasts. This was because firearms required a lot of supplies. Once they ran out of bullets, they would become a piece of scrap metal. To the agile exotic beasts with thick skin and thick flesh, ordinary bullets were not very effective against them. Martial artists liked all kinds of alloy knives. The alloy knives of this era were very different from the alloy weapons used during Yang Tian's grandfather's era. The new alloy weapons were infused with an element called YT, extracted from the bones of high-grade exotic beasts. This element greatly improved the quality of the alloy knives. Be it in terms of hardness or flexibility, they were incomparable to ordinary alloy knives. This type of alloy saber was known as the YT alloy saber. Yang Tian really wished to own a YT alloy saber. He did not know if he would be able to buy such an equipment after selling the 2 rank 1 beast cores and earning about 1 million martial coins. On the shelves in the tent, aside from the firearms, most of the items were alloy knives. When Yang Tian was about to go forward and take a look at the alloy knives, a short-haired man in a camouflage uniform walked over. He smiled at Yang Tian and said, "Little brother, are you here to sell something? Or are you here to buy something? Our goods are the cheapest in this area. Are you buying beast cores?" Yang Tian asked directly. The short-haired man was stunned when he heard this. He then smiled and said, "Of course. It's written outside. According to the rules, Grade 1 beast cores are sold for 500,000 martial coins each. We accept cash and bank transfer." The short-haired man only mentioned the price of Grade 1 beast cores because he felt that Yang Tian looked so young. It would be good enough if he had a Grade 1 beast core on him. Yang Tian nodded and said, "I want to sell 2 Grade 1 beast cores. Bank transfer." The short-haired man's eyes widened when he heard this. 2 of them. This was a big deal. When he came back to his senses, he immediately pulled Yang Tian to the counter inside. As he walked, he said, "According to the shop's rules, if the amount of your first transaction is above 1 million, you will automatically become the shop's VIP. In the future, you will get a 20% discount on all purchases." As the short-haired man spoke, he pulled Yang Tian to the counter. There was a long-haired beauty with a hot body behind the counter. When Yang Tian arrived, she even winked at Yang Tian. Yang Tian took off his backpack and placed the 2 Grade 1 beast cores on the counter. He then took out his bank card and placed it together with the beast cores. Yang Tian knew that most of the businesses in this high-security area had a good reputation. They wouldn't cheat their customers, especially high-end customers. Yang Tian, for example, had taken out 2 Grade 1 beast cores and exchanged them for 1 million martial coins. He could be considered a high-end customer. Behind the counter, the beauty picked up the phone and made a call. The short-haired man picked up the 2 Grade 1 beast cores and checked them. When he found that there were no problems, he nodded at the long-haired beauty. The beauty picked up Yang Tian's bank card and operated it on the computer. Soon, Yang Tian's phone received a text message. It was a bank notification informing him that he had received 1 million martial coins. Yang Tian connected his phone to the internet and checked the online bank. When he found that there were no problems, he nodded happily. "Big brother, I look forward to working with you. If you have another chance like this in the future, you must take care of us." After the short-haired man finished speaking, he winked at Yang Tian and walked up to Yang Tian. He whispered to Yang Tian, "This beautiful lady, it's all yours tonight." Yang Tian smiled and shook his head. He asked, "I want to buy a whitey alloy knife. Do you have it here?" The short-haired man hurriedly said, "Of course, but we only have one because there are too few people who can afford this kind of weapon. Please wait a moment." After the short-haired man finished speaking, he walked behind the counter and pulled out a rectangular wooden box. He opened it and took out a long knife with a black scabbard. "YT alloy tang knife. 1 million each. You're a VIP, so a 20% discount will be 800,000, the short-haired man said directly after handing the knife to Yang Tian. At this time, the beauty behind the counter had just finished the VIP card and handed it to Yang Tian. Yang Tian knew that it was useless to bargain. He nodded and held the scabbard with one hand and the handle with the other. He gently pulled out the knife. The blade was snow-white and smooth, but it didn't reflect light. It was like an animal's bone. The blade was dense and heavy. Yang Tian estimated that was at least 10 pounds. Ordinary people who used such a heavy knife would be exhausted after a few swings. After Yang Tian pulled out the knife, he reached out and pulled out a strand of hair from the beauty's head and put on the knife. He didn't need a blow, and the hair was cut in half. This was even more powerful than the hair-blowing divine weapon. The blade of this tang knife was about 70 centimeters long, the handle was 25 centimeters long, and the blade was about 3 centimeters wide. 5 centimeters. Yang Tian held the handle and waved it a few times. He felt very satisfied. Chapter 12. A handy weapon cost 800,000 martial coins. Yang Tian finally understood that the profession of a martial artist was built on the accumulation of wealth. Fortunately, a martial artist could continuously hunt exotic beasts and obtain their beast cores to exchange for large amounts of martial coins. Then, they could purchase items they needed and send them to their families, allowing them to live a carefree life. With 200,000 martial coins left, Yang Tian planned to remit 50,000 to his family. He still had 150,000 martial coins to spend. What else do I need to buy? Yang Tian knew that money was a dead thing. Turning it into equipment was the most practical thing. At a critical moment, it might play an unexpected role. Seeing Yang Tian in deep thought, the short-haired man guessed what Yang Tian was thinking. He smiled and approached him. "Brother, is there anything else you want to buy?" Yang Tian nodded. The short-haired man pinched his chin and sized up the items on Yang Tian's body. He nodded and said, "Brother, you still need a martial artist assistive device." "Martial artist assistive device?" Yang Tian asked, puzzled. He had never heard of such a thing as a martial artist auxiliary tool. The short-haired man smiled and said, "Although the YS virus broke out during the period of rapid technological development, humans had no choice but to focus all their energy on dealing with exotic beasts. However, some technologies are still developing rapidly. For example, communication technology and electronic engineering technology. A martial artist assistive device is a type of multi-purpose equipment specially designed for martial artists. It's shaped like a wristwatch and has many functions. Wait, I'll show it to you." As the short-haired man spoke, he walked behind the counter. As he bent down, he touched the thigh of the beauty behind the counter. The beauty rolled her eyes as the short-haired man pulled out a box from under the counter. The short-haired man placed the box the size of a handbag on the counter and unlocked it. He opened the lid and took out a beautifully packaged paper box. The paper box was blue and printed with a wristwatch and the words "Martial Artist Assistive Device." The short-haired man opened the paper box and took out a black wristwatch. He said to Yang Tian, "This martial artist auxiliary device was developed on the basis of the single soldier communication system. The function was very powerful. It could measure the temperature, humidity, and oxygen content of the surrounding environment in real time. It could also give directions. It could send out a powerful communication signal, and even in the most remote places, it could guarantee instant communication. And this is only the most basic function." When the short-haired man saw that Yang Tian was not tempted, he knew that the things he mentioned were not enough to attract Yang Tian. Hence, he stopped and chuckled before continuing, "Brother, a warrior assistive device is connected to the Global Martial Alliance's website. There are many battle skills that can be purchased. As long as you purchase a battle skill, the powerful timely transmission function will instantly transmit the battle skill to the martial artist's auxiliary device, allowing the user to view and learn at any time." When the short-haired man said this, he saw Yang Tian's eyes light up. He knew that this was the thing that Yang Tian was most interested in. Indeed, Yang Tian was not interested in the timely transmission function, the ability to give directions, or the ability to measure temperature. But battle skills were very attractive to him. Now, Yang Tian could only be considered an enhancer and not a real martial artist. Enhancers were strengthened by beast cores, and their physiques were much stronger than ordinary people. But in fact, in this state, their bodies had not completely digested and absorbed the energy of the beast cores. As for martial artists, they were enhancers who cultivated battle skills. Through special cultivation methods, they could unleash their potential to the greatest extent after being strengthened. Battle skills could also allow people to better unleash their strength in battle. This was the difference between an ordinary person and a martial artist. The physiques of the two were about the same, but a martial artist could easily defeat an ordinary person who had never practiced martial arts. How much does this auxiliary equipment cost? Yang Tian thought for a while. He had already decided to own such equipment, so he asked anxiously. The short-haired man did not immediately state the price. Instead, he said, "Brother, don't be anxious. I'm not done yet." In addition to being able to purchase various battle skills, you can also see the latest information about exotic beasts. Exotic beasts are constantly evolving. Every once in a while, a new breed will appear. To the user, if they encounter such exotic beasts, they will have a higher chance of defeating them. Also, When a martial artist activates the auxiliary equipment and encounters an exotic beast, the auxiliary equipment will give the user a timely reminder. The combat value of the exotic beast will give the user a sense of confidence. The short-haired man seemed to be afraid that Yang Tian would interrupt him, so he said a lot in one breath. The more Yang Tian listened, the more he felt the benefits of this equipment. If he wore this high-tech equipment, the process would be much more convenient. 80% of the current martial artists are equipped with such high-tech equipment. The price is only 50,000 martial coins. In the end, the short-haired man said to Yang Tian, "Why is it so cheap?" Yang Tian asked in surprise. He thought that such high-tech equipment would be very expensive. He did not expect it to be so cheap. The short-haired man smiled and said, 50,000 martial coins is not even enough to cover the cost. The reason why it's so cheap is that it's like a mobile phone. You have to pay a monthly rental fee of at least 10,000 martial coins a month. Also, you have to pay a 10% service fee when you buy things from it. Yang Tian immediately understood. This thing merged the mobile phone and the electronic shopping mall together. Not only was the monthly rent expensive, but they also had to pay for the items they bought. It was equivalent to tying the high-end users, the martial artists, to the shopping mall for auxiliary devices. The cost of such a high-tech electronic equipment was at most a few 100,000 martial coins. Even if it was given to a martial artist, the cost would be covered in less than a year. This was a business that was almost guaranteed to be profitable. Yang Tian was not interested in finding out how profitable the company that developed this kind of electronic equipment was. He immediately took out his bank card and handed it to the beauty behind the counter. He said with a smile, "Beauty, I want the auxiliary equipment for martial artists." After paying, Yang Tian received the auxiliary equipment for martial artists. There was a manual inside the box. Yang Tian opened the manual and took a look. He put on the auxiliary equipment that looked like a watch on his wrist and pressed the switch on it. The small screen immediately lit up. At this moment, a young woman's pleasant voice rang out clearly. "This is your first time using it. Please enter the key. The auxiliary equipment will record your voice information. You will be the only user in the future. Please enter your name and ID number." Yang Tian, ID number Texas, 78645******. Yang Tian immediately said his ID number and released the key. At this moment, the auxiliary equipment sounded again. "Your information has been successfully entered. Thank you for your support of Galaxy Technology. Please spend some time to set up the voice operation information." The auxiliary equipment for martial artists was completely controlled by voice. It would take some time to set up the command. Yang Tian put the box into his backpack and said to the short-haired man, "There's nothing else to buy now. Goodbye." The short-haired man smiled and nodded. He walked Yang Tian to the door and waved at Yang Tian. "Please come again." After leaving the tent, Yang Tian got into the car and started it. He did not leave the security zone immediately because there were still some things he needed to buy. For example, some daily necessities, a few sets of clothes, and some convenient and nutritious canned food. Chapter 13. Yang Tian drove back to the 5-story building. There were many people who went out to train like him, but most of them stayed in the restricted area outside Tianxiong City. They were not like Yang Tian, who stayed at the border between the restricted area and the dangerous area. After he went upstairs, Yang Tian began to study the martial artist assistive device. At that moment, the little blue dragon came out of Yang Tian's arms and jumped onto Yang Tian's shoulder. It opened its eyes wide and looked curiously at the device on Yang Tian's wrist. Referring to the manual and the assistive device's intelligent prompt, Yang Tian spent almost 2 hours inputting all the voice control commands. Then, Yang Tian took out his phone and turned it off. He took out the card in his hand and inserted it into the card slot at the bottom of the martial artist assistive device. Then, Yang Tian took out a Bluetooth earpiece from the box and put it on. When the phone card was inserted into the assistive device, Yang Tian rebooted the device. The device prompted, "Welcome to Star Technology's high-tech product, Martial Artist Assistive Device. The operating system you are currently using is version 1. Version 0 You need to upgrade to version 2. Version 0. The upgrade cost is 1,000 martial coins. F*CK. Yang Tian could not help but curse when he heard that. He did not expect that the operating system of this thing would need to be upgraded if a third party were to appear in the future. 04. Version 0. Wouldn't he still need to pay for the upgrade? That was too much. Yang Tian felt that he had boarded a pirate ship after buying this thing. Upgrade it then. Yang Tian was helpless. He followed the prompt and bound his bank card to his account. He paid 1,000 martial coins and said to the assistive device, upgrade to version 2. 0. After about half an hour, the martial artist assistive device was finally upgraded. 2. Version 0's system and version 1 system. Version 0's system was very different. Version 1 system was very different. Version 0's system was very stiff and rigid. Version 0's operating system was obviously more user-friendly and intelligent. Yang Tian felt that the 1,000 martial coins were well spent. Master, my name is 10,001. You can give me another name. It's my pleasure to serve you. As Yang Tian was wearing a headset, the AI program's voice rang out after the upgrade was completed. It was the voice of a young girl, crisp and gentle. Then you'll be called Xiao He. Yang Tian said casually as he looked at the Black Warrior Auxiliary tool. Next, Yang Tian asked Xiao He to connect to the Martial Arts Alliance's website and entered the section for purchasing combat skills. Following Xiao He's instructions, Yang Tian removed the device from his wrist, closed the door, and placed the device on the coffee table. A beam of light shot out from the auxiliary device. When it landed on the snow-white wall, it became a clearer display. There were many combat skills. Yang Tian browsed through them and chose a saber technique called Breaking Shadow, which was suitable for beginner martial artists. Yang Tian still had more than 100,000 martial coins in his card. After deducting the 50,000 martial coins that he had to remit to his parents, he had less than 50,000 martial coins left. Fortunately, the basic combat skill was not expensive. It only cost 20,000 martial coins, plus a 10% handling fee. Yang Tian paid 22,000 martial coins, and the basic combat skill was downloaded into Yang Tian's Martial Arts Alliance's auxiliary tool. After purchasing the combat skill, Yang Tian hurriedly closed the Martial Arts Alliance's website and began to watch the video teaching of the Breaking Shadow saber technique. The video was very long. It played from noon to night. Yang Tian finally finished watching it. After turning off the video, Yang Tian looked at the time. It was already 8:30 p.m. Transfer 50,000 martial coins to my father's card. The bank account number is *******. Yang Tian immediately said to the smart program Xiao He and transferred the 50,000 martial coins to his father's card. After completing the transfer, Yang Tian asked Xiao He to call home and asked his father if he had received the message. After that, Yang Tian was reminded by his parents again before he hung up the phone. After ending the call with his parents, Yang Tian called Qin Fei and chatted with her intimately for a while. Yang Tian suddenly realized that ever since Qin Fei boldly kissed him last time, their relationship had improved. Yang Tian knew that the next time they met, they might be able to take another step forward. After hanging up the phone, Yang Tian giggled for a while. Squeak, squeak, squeak. After Yang Tian was done with his business, the little blue dragon cried out, announcing its existence to Yang Tian. Yang Tian could hear some resentment in its cry. It's not that I don't care about you, but there are a lot of things to do today. I bought some raw beef. I'll roast it for you later. Upon hearing that it could eat roasted meat, the little blue dragon cried out happily and jumped onto Yang Tian's shoulder, rubbing its head against Yang Tian's cheek intimately. At 6 o'clock in the morning, just as the sun rose, Yang Tian woke up. After washing up with the river, he ate a box of canned beef and went downstairs with his newly bought tang knife. The little blue dragon then jumped onto Yang Tian's shoulder. Yang Tian realized that this little guy was very sensible. When there were outsiders around, it would hide and not let others see it. Yang Tian actually hoped that this was the case. He had to keep the little blue dragon's existence a secret. It was equivalent to having a backup plan especially when he was fighting with others in the future. The little blue dragon could appear unexpectedly and deal a fatal blow to his opponent in an instant. Sometimes, the enemies of a martial artist in this world were not only beasts, but also humans themselves. Just like last time, that person called Wang Wei wanted to kill him in order to obtain a rank 2 beast core. Yang Tian came to the first floor. The first floor used to be a shop. The space inside was very spacious. After some simple cleaning, it could become a practice ground for Yang Tian to familiarize himself with the knife technique. After spending about an hour cleaning up the floor, Yang Tian began to practice the breaking shadow knife technique. The first floor had a shutter door. It was closed and very dark. Yang Tian removed the support device from his wrist and turned on the projection. He watched the explanation of the knife technique while practicing. The breaking shadow knife technique was a basic combat technique. It was not profound. Continuous practice could train most of the muscles in the body and gain a basic grasp of the use of one's strength. This set of knife technique also had a specialized breathing technique. When combined with practice, it could also stimulate the body's potential to the greatest extent. Yang Tian thought that he would not be able to remember some parts of the teaching video after watching it yesterday afternoon. That was why he turned on the projection of the support device. However, when he started practicing, he realized that his memory was very good. As he performed the movements, the memory of the knife technique appeared in his mind like flowing water. During his first practice, Yang Tian performed a complete set of knife technique in one go. Although it was still a little stiff, the entire practice process was very smooth. At this moment, if the creator of the breaking shadow knife technique was here and saw that Yang Tian could perform a knife technique perfectly in one go, he would definitely be shocked. What surprised Yang Tian was more than that. After using a specific breathing rate to practice the saber technique, he realized that his body had become hot. It was as if there was an endless amount of energy in his body. It was as if there was a stream of qi circulating in his body. The teaching video would take a few hours to finish playing because the martial artist who demonstrated the knife technique in the video had to demonstrate the movements and sometimes stop to explain the key points. Some of the movements had to be repeated several times. However, when it came to real practice, it only took about half an hour to smoothly practice this set of knife technique. If the speed of the movements was increased continuously, it could even be completed in a few minutes. When Yang Tian finished practicing for the second time, he felt that practicing in the room could no longer satisfy him. Nature is the best teacher. In Yang Tian's mind, a sentence that Qin Fei's grandfather, Qin Jingyang, had said to him suddenly appeared. Xiaolong, let's go. Let's go outside to practice. Yang Tian smiled and said to Xiaolong. He turned off the projection of the support device, put it on his wrist, and turned to walk in the direction of the stairwell. The little blue dragon let out 2 cheerful squeaks and jumped onto Yang Tian's shoulder. See, sigh. An hour later, in a small forest outside Barren Hill City, Yang Tian's figure flashed. The knife in his hand turned into a flash of white light, making a slight friction sound with the air. The little blue dragon had now climbed up a tree. Its 2 claws were constantly scratching the branches, pulling off many leaves. With the wind, the leaves fluttered towards Yang Tian, who was practicing his knife technique. Some of these falling leaves were cut in half by Yang Tian's knife after a long time. Yang Tian put away his knife and let out a long breath. Xiaolong, next time get less leaves. My knife technique is not that fast. Yang Tian panted slightly and said to the little blue dragon lying on the tree. Squeak, squeak. The little blue dragon agreed. Chapter 14. At 6 o'clock in the evening, Yang Tian dragged his exhausted body back to the 5-story building. The little blue dragon was surprisingly energetic. Its eyes were wide open as it laid on Yang Tian's shoulder. Its eyes were shining as it watched Yang Tian take out 2 plastic bags filled with fresh meat from the trunk of the car. Inside the bags was a piece of meat that Yang Tian had cut off from a silver-haired pig that he had encountered while practicing his swordsmanship. Unfortunately, this silver-haired pig had not even reached the level of a beast, so there was no beast core in its head. After returning to the 5-story building, Yang Tian endured his exhaustion and cut the silver-haired pig's meat into small pieces. He sprinkled some seasoning on them, skewered them on thin metal skewers, roasted them over the fire, and tossed them to the little blue dragon. Yang Tian did not know why the little blue dragon loved roasted meat so much. After eating it for 2 days, Yang Tian was tired of it. He felt that it was not as good as canned beef. However, the little blue dragon did not seem to get tired of eating it. After serving the little blue dragon until it was full, Yang Tian took a shower and told the little blue dragon to be alert at night. Then, he lay on the bed with his sword in his arms. After closing his eyes, he fell asleep in a few minutes. After an unknown amount of time, Yang Tian heard squeaking and a rumbling sound. He opened his eyes abruptly. Yang Tian saw the little blue dragon lying on the head of the bed. He was shocked when he heard the rumbling sound that sounded like 10,000 horses galloping from outside. He immediately sat up from the bed and quickly put on his clothes in the dark. He carried his sword to the window and carefully lifted the curtains to look outside. It was a moonlit night, so the situation outside was clearer. Under the bright moonlight, Yang Tian saw a large number of exotic beasts. They formed groups and passed through the streets outside, running in the direction of Tianxiong City. A beast tide. These 2 words suddenly popped into Yang Tian's mind. It had been almost 100 years since the outbreak of the YS virus. In the past few decades, the safe zone built by humans would experience a beast tide every once in a while. A beast tide was when a large number of exotic beasts grouped together to attack a city built by humans. Normally, there would be a small beast tide every 3 to 4 years and a large beast tide every 10 years. Yang Tian felt his scalp go numb as he looked at the various strange beasts running through the streets outside. With so many strange beasts, even a high-ranked martial artist could be drowned by this horde of beasts very quickly. The reason for the beast tide had long been known by humans. High-level exotic beasts were as intelligent as humans. They viewed humans as their greatest enemy, and their reproduction rate was too fast. Every few years, there would be a surplus of exotic beasts. In order to maintain order in their territories, these high-level exotic beasts would order large numbers of low-level exotic beasts to launch suicidal attacks on the cities built by humans. Not only would this reduce the number of low-level exotic beasts, but it would also deplete human resources. It was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. The outbreak of a beast tide was very fast. Normally, humans would only have a few hours of warning time. After the leader of the exotic beasts gave the order, large numbers of exotic beasts would gather in the surrounding area and march towards the human cities within 1 or 2 hours. Yang Tian glanced outside and carefully lowered the curtains. He hugged his saber and sat cross-legged under the window, waiting quietly. Now is not the time to go out. If he was surrounded by a large number of exotic beasts, only death would await him. Desolate Hill City was only about 50 kilometers away from Tianxiong City. By the time the beast tide arrived, the people in the alert zone would have already retreated into the city. The people in the city would rely on the 100-meter-tall city walls to fight the exotic beasts. The reason humans were able to detect a beast tide in advance and make preparations in advance was because there were satellites in the sky that monitored the exotic beasts at all times. When the exotic beasts were scattered, it was difficult to detect them. However, when they gathered together, they would appear as a moving mass of red on the infrared satellite images. Every beast tide was an opportunity for martial artists to earn huge profits and show off their skills. Human cities have been built very sturdy. When the beast tide reached the city, the high-energy weapons on the city walls would be able to destroy the beast tide. Once the beast tide was dispersed, it would be time for the martial artists to feast. The martial artists in the city would take the opportunity to rush out of the city to hunt the exotic beasts and obtain a large number of beast cores. The low-level ultra beasts that were running outside had yet to discover Yang Tian's presence. They were probably being urged by the high-level ultra beasts and only had one thought in their minds, and that was to charge towards the city ahead. Yang Tian hugged his saber and closed his eyes, waiting quietly. Once the beast tide passed, it would be time for him to go out. Time passed very slowly as he waited quietly. Yang Tian raised his wrist to check the time from time to time. When Yang Tian was woken up by the little blue dragon, it was 3 in the morning. Half an hour later, the beast tide passed through desolate Hill City. At this time, Yang Tian still did not move. Under the moonlight, the tents outside Tianxiong City were long gone. Under the 100-meter-tall city walls, there was trash everywhere. The people who lived in the high-security area had been moved into the city walls to avoid this beast tide. A city could only accommodate a limited number of people. For the benefit of the majority, a few people could only be sacrificed. Almost every city had such a group of people outside. Most of them were people who wandered around after the YS virus outbreak. They eventually found a city and gathered there. Some of them were people who had broken the rules of the city and were expelled from the city. Some of them were like Yang Tian. They had the right to live in the city, but were not satisfied with the status quo. They left the city to train and become strong. In the past few decades, the people living outside the city had given birth, and the population had increased by a lot. It was not much different from the population inside the city. With so many people, if this was another era, a rebellion would have been enough to occupy the entire city. However, in this era where mutated beasts ran rampant and martial artists ruled the world, these people were the weaker group of humans. They did not have the foundation to rebel and could only rely on the city to survive. The people living outside the city were also a kind of resource to the people inside the city. Most of the food in the city was provided by the people outside the city, while the city provided them with medicine and weapons. After the beast tide broke out, the city manager allowed the people outside the city to hide behind the city walls. However, they were not allowed to stay in the city for long to avoid disrupting the order in the city. The people outside the city had a completely different view of the system in their minds. The law and order in the city were good, and most people had a sense of abiding by the law. On the other hand, the people living outside the city respected the strong. They could even draw their swords and kill people over a small argument. 10 minutes after Yang Tian woke up, the beast tide approached Tianxiong City. This was a small beast tide that broke out to the east of Tianxiong City. From the satellite images, it could be estimated that there were about a few million mutated beasts. These mutated beasts had not even gotten close to the city walls when the weapons on the city walls opened fire. The sound of laser cannons, the sound of regular rapid-fire cannons exploding, the sound of high-power machine guns firing, and the sizzling sound of lightning exploding. These sounds mixed together and broke the silence of the night. Laser, lightning, and fire lit up the sky. Even though they were dozens of kilometers away, the light passed through the window and flickered on Yang Tian's face. Below Tianxiong City, the beast tide formed by low-level mutated beasts braved the rain of bullets and attacked the city walls with all their might. They were very fast. After losing a few of their companions, they reached the city walls. The city walls were not at a 90-degree angle from the ground. Instead, they were slanted outwards. If the mutated beasts wanted to attack the city walls, they had to use their sharp claws to climb up. Even if they reached the city walls, there were high-caliber machine guns and high-voltage electric nets. This time, the beast tide's attack started at 3 in the morning and lasted until 7 in the morning. It was still not over, which surprised the people in charge of Tianxiong City. Based on the experience of the beast tide in the past few decades, the beast tide's attack would usually last for about an hour. After a small number of mutated beasts were killed, the beast tide would disperse. Now, it had been more than 3 hours, and the low-level mutated beasts were still attacking with all their might. Many mutated beasts had climbed up the city walls. These mutated beasts were all electrocuted or killed by the high-caliber machine guns. However, if the mutated beasts kept attacking like this, they might break into the city and cause harm to the residents. Chapter 15. After the manager of Tianxiong City knew about the situation, he immediately gave the order for the martial artists to move out. At 7:15, Yang Tian's martial artist support device received a message. It informed him that all registered martial artists from rank 1 to rank 3 in Tianxiong City must go out to hunt for exotic beasts. This order was not binding on Yang Tian. Even though he had learned some combat skills, he had not passed the martial artist level test. He was not considered a martial artist yet. From this order, Yang Tian realized that this beast horde was not normal. If it was in the past, the manager of Tianxiong City would not send out martial artists. Unless there was an emergency. The horde of beasts had already passed by Desolate Hill City, causing the streets to be filled with potholes. The off-road vehicle that Yang Tian drove yesterday was overturned by the horde of beasts. It was unknown if it could still be driven. "Xiaolong, let's go. Let's go," Yang Tian said to the little blue dragon on his shoulder as he stood up and held the sword in his hand. Squeak, squeak. The little blue dragon let out a cheerful cry, eager to try. After eating roasted meat for a few days, the little blue dragon had changed a lot. At the very least, its body had become thicker and not as skinny as before. Yang Tian opened the door and went downstairs to the street. The beast horde had just passed by not long ago. There was still a musty smell in the air. It was the smell of the exotic beasts' bodies and their feces. Yang Tian rubbed his nose and quickly walked towards the direction of Desolate Hill City. Roar! Yang Tian had only taken a few steps when a black iron whip tiger suddenly rushed out from the side of the street. It roared at Yang Tian and pounced at him. The iron whip tiger was very fast. Yang Tian did not have time to pull out his sword. He dodged to the side and dodged the iron whip tiger's attack. Even though the beast horde had passed by, some of the exotic beasts had stayed behind. Not all exotic beasts would listen to the orders of their superiors. If they encountered any delays in their attacks and were left alone, they'd stop for a while. The iron whip tiger did not manage to pounce on Yang Tian. Instead, it crouched down and stared at Yang Tian coldly. It was in a short standoff with Yang Tian. Except for its tail, this iron whip tiger was at least 3 meters long, which was almost twice the size of an ordinary tiger. Its 4 limbs were thick and powerful, and its 4 feet were bigger than the mouth of a bull. Its hook-shaped claws were at least 4 centimeters long, shining with a shiny metallic luster. Level 1 Iron Whip Tiger. Speed 250. Strength 280. Attack 300. It specializes in pouncing on its prey. At that moment, Yang Tian's auxiliary device detected the Iron Whip Tiger. After comparing it with the database, a series of data was sent to Yang Tian. Yang Tian did not know his current speed, strength, and attack. Naturally, he could not determine the difference between his strength and the Iron Whip Tiger's. However, this kind of warning had its benefits. At the very least, Yang Tian, who had not fought with the Iron Whip Tiger before, knew how powerful it was. Yang Tian pulled out his sword. Whoosh! Suddenly, the Iron Whip Tiger pounced at Yang Tian again. Yang Tian did not retreat. Instead, he charged at the Iron Whip Tiger in the air. He suddenly squatted down and thrust his sword at the Iron Whip Tiger's abdomen. Ha! Yang Tian originally thought that this attack would be enough to kill the Iron Whip Tiger. He did not expect that the Iron Whip Tiger's long tail, which was as thick as an arm, would sweep Yang Tian's sword to the side. The strength of this tail was very strong. Yang Tian felt that his arm and the sword were numb from the shock. Yang Tian turned over and stood up. Taking advantage of the fact that the Iron Whip Tiger had just landed on the ground and had not yet turned around, he jumped up high. He held the sword with both hands and aimed the tip of the sword at the Iron Whip Tiger's back. The Iron Whip Tiger sensed Yang Tian's action. Its 4 legs exerted force, and its body rushed out like lightning. Chi! Yang Tian's sword stabbed deeply into the cement-paved street, making a grinding sound. Until now, Yang Tian had not used any combat skills. He wanted to know if he could kill this Iron Whip Tiger with just his strength, speed, and the powerful weapon in his hand without using any combat skills. For Yang Tian, this was a training opportunity. However, if he did not finish the battle for a long time, it would consume a lot of stamina. The loss would outweigh the gain. Yang Tian suddenly realized this point because there was still a great battle waiting for him in the future. Yang Tian pulled out his sword. At this moment, the Iron Whip Tiger had turned around and pounced on Yang Tian again. Breaking shadow, Yang Tian shouted softly. The sword in his hand instantly turned into a light net and enveloped the Iron Whip Tiger. Yesterday, Yang Tian had practiced the Breaking Shadow sword for a whole day. He had also asked the little blue dragon to help him get a lot of flying leaves to practice the speed of his sword skills. Although it had only been a day, Yang Tian was already very familiar with this set of sword skills. This set of sword skills was just like its name, Breaking Shadow. The faster the speed, the better. It could cut through the light and shadow. Chi chi chi. A series of rapid and continuous sounds were heard. Yang Tian's body passed under the Iron Whip Tiger's body. Pump! The Iron Whip Tiger's huge body fell to the ground. Woo-woo! Lying on the ground, the Iron Whip Tiger groaned and slowly closed its eyes. A large amount of blood flowed out from its stomach. Huff! Yang Tian let out a long breath and put away his sword. This was the power of the sword skills. Once used, the sword would be unpredictable. The Iron Whip Tiger could not determine where Yang Tian was going to attack. It's still a bit difficult. I just need to practice more. Yang Tian said with a smile as he looked at the Iron Whip Tiger's body and rubbed his sore arm. Next, Yang Tian used his sword to cut open the Iron Whip Tiger's head. To his disappointment, there was no rank 1 beast core in the Iron Whip Tiger's head. This was normal. Not all Ultra Beasts had beast cores in their heads. For example, killing 100 rank 1 Ultra Beasts would only yield 1 rank 1 beast core. The higher the rank of the Ultra Beasts, the higher the chance of having beast cores in their heads. From the time Yang Tian encountered the Iron Whip Tiger to the time he killed it, it had only been 2 minutes. After Yang Tian cut open the Iron Whip Tiger's head and did not find any beast cores, he headed back to Tianxiong City. After the Ultra Beasts were heading toward Tianxiong City, the number of Ultra Beasts in the area suddenly increased. At this time, there were some injured Ultra Beasts that were running back from Tianxiong City. Yang Tian would encounter an Ultra Beast every few minutes. If these Ultra Beasts attacked him, Yang Tian would kill them while he was at it. Yang Tian did not care about the rest. Most of these Ultra Beasts were not rank 1 Ultra Beasts. Even if he killed them, Yang Tian would not gain any benefits. Instead, he would be wasting his energy. At this time, an unexpected change was happening in Tianxiong City. Other than the Ultra Beasts on the ground, a large number of flying Ultra Beasts had gathered in the sky and were heading toward Tianxiong City. If one were to stand on the walls of Tianxiong City, they would see a dark cloud floating toward them from afar. Woo-woo! The entire Tianxiong City's air defense alarm went off. Chapter 16. There weren't as many types and numbers of flying exotic beasts as there were on land. There were only a few dozen types, and most of them were eagles. There were also a few other ferocious birds, mammals, and bats. Red-feathered eagles were one of the most numerous flying exotic beasts. The dark cloud in the sky was formed by a large number of red-feathered eagles, numbering in the tens of thousands. What was rare about this beast tide was that the exotic beasts were actually working together on land and in the air. Chi chi chi, before the red-feathered eagles reached the skies above Tianxiong City, the laser cannons in Tianxiong City opened fire. Thick beams of light shot into the red-feathered eagles. The red-feathered eagles with wingspans of 6 to 7 meters fell like raindrops after being hit by the laser cannons. However, these ferocious flying exotic beasts quickly spread out and dove down towards the city walls. At this time, the land exotic beasts had also climbed to the top of the city walls. It was the busiest time for the cultivators on the city walls. The red-feathered eagles attacking the city walls was simply adding fuel to the fire for the cultivators on the city walls. Fortunately, the cultivators in the city who received the notice kept swarming towards the city walls. The commoners closed their doors and windows to prevent themselves from being killed by the red-feathered eagles. Yang Tian ran for nearly 30 kilometers in a single breath. He stood on a high ground and looked down at Tianxiong City. In Yang Tian's eyes, the densely packed exotic beasts were attacking the city walls from below. Some of them were even running back and forth under the command of the high-ranked exotic beasts, as if they were creating a ruckus. There were also many exotic beasts using their sharp claws to scale the city walls, climbing up the slanted walls. At this time, many exotic beasts had reached the top of the city walls and were being cut down by the cultivators on top. The rapid-fire cannons on top of the city walls kept firing shells. The concentrated shells exploded in the midst of the exotic beasts, sending some of them flying into the sky. Some of them were blasted into pieces, causing a rain of blood to rain down. There were also some bombs that released powerful electric currents after exploding, turning groups of exotic beasts into piles of charcoal. There were also incendiary bombs that sprayed a dense rain of fire in all directions. Many exotic beasts were instantly engulfed in flames, turning into moving fireballs as they rampaged through the beast tide. Other than the exotic beasts on the ground, the sky was filled with huge eagles circling in the air. They swooped down from time to time, and what greeted them was heavy machine gun fire. The laser cannons in the city also adjusted their angles and shot down the red feathers one by one. This was Yang Tian's first time witnessing a war between the Japanese and Japanese. It was even more tragic than he had imagined. Up until now, it was still the humans who were slaughtering the beasts one-sidedly. Because of the tall city walls and the warriors guarding the city walls, the beasts were unable to break into the city. Yang Tian could imagine how Tianxiong City would turn into a living hell if those crazy beasts charged into the city. In the past few decades, it wasn't like there hadn't been any exotic beasts attacking human cities. Other than cultivators, there were almost no other survivors. If it were in the past, the mutated beasts would have long since collapsed and fled in all directions. However, this time, as soon as the walls started to crumble, some high-ranked exotic beasts let out howls. The large number of exotic beasts instantly stopped panicking and continued to attack the city walls. This was simply a suicidal attack. In a war between humans, such a situation would never occur, because humans could think, while exotic beast thoughts were extremely simple and could easily be controlled by high-ranked exotic beasts. The strange beasts attacked without any regard for their lives, and more strange beasts reached the top of the city walls. Yang Tian raised his wrist and looked at the time displayed on his auxiliary device. It was already 8:20 in the morning. It had been more than 4 hours since the exotic beasts attacked Tianxiong City. Yang Tian had just put down his wrist when his auxiliary device received a message. It was from the city manager, requesting all cultivators in the city to move out. The cultivators outside the city were to kill the exotic beasts from the periphery and disrupt their attack. It seemed like the situation had become even more dire. After this order was sent out, the weapons on the city walls stopped firing. Those bombs, lightning bolts, lasers, and large-caliber machine guns all consumed a lot of resources. It wasn't easy to replenish them, and if the consumption was too high, it would affect the city's defense. Seeing that more and more exotic beasts were attacking the city walls, Yang Tian was very worried about his parents. His girlfriend, Qin Fei, had a grandfather who was a high-ranked martial artist. She had someone to protect her, but what about his parents? In the face of these exotic beasts, they didn't even have the ability to resist. The cultivators on the city walls hadn't come down yet because there were too many exotic beasts below the city walls. A large number of exotic beasts, led by high-ranked exotic beasts, were attacking the city walls in an orderly manner, causing a huge commotion. If someone could attack now and disrupt these exotic beasts, it would reduce the pressure on the cultivators on the city walls. The managers of the city had already realized this. When the beast tide broke out, there were also many cultivators outside the city. There should be no less than 1,000 of them. At this time, Yang Tian wasn't the only one watching the battle from the periphery. Yang Tian looked around and realized that there were many people holding weapons in the distance. There should be many cultivators among them. As long as the city manager gave an order, the cultivators couldn't disobey. Otherwise, it would be disobeying orders, and the consequences of disobeying orders were very serious. Xiaolong, let's go. Yang Tian chuckled. He raised his blade and charged towards the beast tied below the city walls. Many people saw Yang Tian's charge. Without any hesitation, they raised their weapons and charged forward. If one looked down from the sky at this time, they would realize that almost no one was walking on the streets of Tianxiong City. Many people had gathered on the outer city walls, especially on the side that was facing the exotic beasts. The city walls were full of moving black dots. Below the city walls, the exotic beasts were spread out over a range of more than 10 kilometers. This was the exotic beast tide. Although there were many casualties, the number of exotic beasts was still terrifying. Outside the exotic beast horde, scattered black dots were rapidly encircling the exotic beast horde. These scattered black dots were the martialists outside the city. A true cultivator couldn't only care about their own safety. They also had to protect their loved ones and the kind and weak. This was the spirit of a true cultivator. Although many cultivators thought that this was nonsense, Yang Tian agreed with it. If one didn't care about their loved ones and bullied the weak, how different would they be from the exotic beasts? Driven by this spirit, Yang Tian was the first to charge towards the exotic beast tide. Yang Tian's speed was very fast. In the blink of an eye, he had reached the area where the exotic beasts were concentrated. When more than 10 blackback wolves saw Yang Tian, they howled and pounced on him. Yang Tian had been able to kill a level 1 silver-toothed wolf before he had cultivated any combat techniques or had the YT elemental alloy blade. What more now? Broken Shadow, Yang Tian shouted as he faced more than 10 level-less blackback wolves that were surrounding him. The blade in his hand turned into a ball of light and slashed at a tall blackback wolf that was pouncing on him. PFFF. The sharp edge of the blade instantly cut the blackback wolf in half. After killing one, Yang Tian paused his steps and turned his body, dodging the pouncing attack of another blackback wolf. The blade in his hand stabbed into the waist of another blackback wolf. With a slight force from his wrist, the blackback wolf's abdomen was sliced open, and a large amount of internal organs fell out. In the blink of an eye, Yang Tian had killed 2 exotic beasts. A large number of exotic beasts in the surroundings were alerted by Yang Tian, and they all surrounded Yang Tian. Yang Tian knew that he couldn't stop now. He had to keep running like these exotic beasts, so that he wouldn't be surrounded by a large number of exotic beasts. Most of these exotic beasts hadn't even reached the level of a level 1 beast. Most of them were blackback wolves. Their teeth hadn't turned silver white, indicating that they hadn't evolved into level 1 silver-toothed wolves. Other than the blackback wolves, there's also a large number of silver-furred pigs, red-clawed cats, scarlet flame leopards. Yang Tian's charging path wasn't towards the city walls, because the number of exotic beasts was the densest there. If he rushed there, he would be sending himself to his death. He basically stayed at the periphery of the exotic beasts. If the exotic beasts in the surroundings surrounded him, he would quickly retreat. Any exotic beast that blocked his path would be killed by him. In just a few minutes, Yang Tian's entire body was covered in the fresh blood of exotic beasts. The number of exotic beasts that he had killed had reached more than 20. At this moment, Yang Tian's nerves were stretched taut. Not only did he have to pay attention to the situation around him, but he also had to deal with the incoming exotic beasts. The moment he relaxed, he would be surrounded by exotic beasts. If no one came to his rescue, he would be finished. Not far away, other cultivators were also doing the same thing as Yang Tian. They were hunting on the periphery of the exotic beasts. The roars of the cultivators and the miserable cries of the exotic beasts constantly rang out. Chapter 17. A wolf. Yang Tian had just killed another blackback wolf. Dozens of meters in front of him, a strong blackback wolf howled at the sky. When this blackback wolf opened its mouth, it revealed 2 sharp, red fangs. Level 2 Red-Fanged Wolf. Young Tian's eyes widened. This guy was obviously the leader of these blackback wolves. It was howling at the sky, probably calling for its underlings to attack him. Yang Tian did not hesitate and charged toward this red-fanged wolf. He did not do it because this guy might have a level 2 beast core in its body, but because if he killed it, the surrounding low-level blackback wolves would lose their leader and might run away. Even if there was a level 2 beast core in its head, after killing it, there would be no time to retrieve it in this chaotic battlefield. Yang Tian killed his way and quickly approached this red-fanged wolf. At this time, the auxiliary device detected the presence of the red-fanged wolf and reminded Yang Tian, Level 2 Red-Fanged Wolf. Speed 500, Strength 250, Attack 400. Its red fangs are poisonous. Master, you must be careful. It is very fast. The red-fanged wolf quickly realized that Yang Tian was attacking it. It bared its fangs at Yang Tian and howled. The surrounding blackback wolves heard its command and charged toward Yang Tian without any regard for their lives. As for the red-fanged wolf, it began to slowly retreat and soon disappeared from Yang Tian's sight. This was a very cunning guy. Xiao Long, kill it! Yang Tian kept waving the sword in his hand and killing the surrounding blackback wolves. Seeing that the red-fanged wolf wanted to escape, he immediately said to the little blue dragon in his arms. The little blue dragon had already poked its head out from Yang Tian's collar and looked around curiously. It was eager to try. Yang Tian did not ask it to move, so it did not move. As soon as Yang Tian's voice fell, the little blue dragon rushed out like lightning. It turned into a green shadow and disappeared in front of Yang Tian's eyes. The little blue dragon was very fast. Until now, Yang Tian hadn't seen any exotic beast that was faster than it. At this time, a blackback wolf rushed over. Yang Tian raised his foot and kicked it away. The knife in his hand slanted and cut a blackback wolf into two from middle. Roar! Right at this moment, the cries of the red-fanged wolves came from the wolf pack ahead. This cry was not as arrogant as before. Instead, it sounded like it was in extreme pain. After Yang Tian heard this cry, he knew that the little blue dragon had begun to attack the red-fanged wolves. He rushed in the direction of the cry. In a few breaths, he killed 3 blackback wolves and kicked 2 away. The other blackback wolves actually turned around and scattered. The red-fanged wolf appeared in front of Yang Tian's eyes. This red-fanged wolf, which was bigger than a normal wolf, was rolling on the ground. The little blue dragon was lying on its head, scratching its skull with its 2 claws. The red-fanged wolf's scalp was broken and was bleeding profusely. However, it couldn't do anything to the little blue dragon on its head. It could only roll on the ground and hit its head against the hard ground, hoping to chase the little blue dragon away. Yang Tian glanced at it and quickly rushed forward. He slashed down with his knife and cut it in half from the waist, ending its pain. At this moment, the little blue dragon was still scratching the red-fanged wolf's skull. Yang Tian immediately understood that there must be a rank 2 beast core in this red-fanged wolf's head. Otherwise, the little blue dragon would have given up. Yang Tian held his knife and looked around vigilantly. The herd of beasts below the city wall was already in a panic. After the warriors on the city wall chased the beasts down, they hung ropes and slid down. At this moment, it wasn't just the low-level warriors. Even the high-level warriors were mobilized. Yang Tian saw an elder in the distance, wielding a thick machete. Every time he swung his machete, several large ultra beasts would be sent flying. The ultra beasts around him were unable to get close to him, even if they tried to attack him. There was another warrior who was extremely agile. He held short thorns with both hands, and his body turned into afterimages. Wherever he went, the surrounding beasts would fall. In addition to using cold weapons, the martial artists also used firearms. A tall, bare-chested martial artist was carrying a large caliber Gatling gun. The gun was constantly spewing out flames that were several feet long. The exotic beasts in front of him were torn apart by the bullets. Once the warriors in the city reached the bottom of the city wall, the outcome of the battle was obvious. Under the massacre of the warriors, the herd of beasts would collapse sooner or later. Seeing such a scene, Yang Tian felt his blood boiling. Now, that was what a real battle was like. The high-level warriors swept through a large group of beasts. The beasts in front of them were like rotten wood. Gee. At this moment, the little blue dragon let out a cheerful cry. It hugged a yellow beast core that jumped onto Yang Tian's shoulder. It handed the rank 2 beast core to Yang Tian as if it was trying to please him. Yang Tian took the beast core and casually stuffed it into his trouser pocket. The little blue dragon went back into Yang Tian's clothes and hung on his chest. This little guy also knew how to hide, not wanting to be seen by other humans. Yang Tian looked ahead, then raised his knife and charged into the herd of beasts again. It was already noon. Corpses of beasts littered the area 10 kilometers below Tianxiong City. There were no longer any living beasts to be seen. Yang Tian's clothes were drenched in blood. His original color could no longer be seen. He sat on the ground, leaning on his knife and panting heavily. The beast horde had finally ended. Next, it was time to clean up the battlefield. To the warriors, this was a bountiful feast. There might be beast cores in the corpses of these beasts. As long as they could find 1 or 2, this battle would not be considered a waste of effort. There were certain rules to follow when searching for beast cores. This was a rule that had been formed over the past few decades. The corpses of the beasts in the entire battlefield had to be examined by high-level warriors before low-level warriors could make a move. High-level warriors referred to warriors of rank 5 and above. In the entire Tianxiong City, there were about 100 of such warriors. Of course, other than the shameless ones, the high-level warriors would let go of the corpses of beasts below rank 3. The rank 1 and rank 2 beast cores would be left for the low-level warriors. Yang Tian obviously knew about this rule. At this time, he was waiting and taking a break. After an intense battle, although he was at the periphery, he was still exhausted. At this moment, the high-level martialists were patrolling the vast battlefield, while the low-level martialists had eager expressions as they waited for the high-level martialists to leave. Someone like Yang Tian sitting down to rest. After the great battle, the battlefield was littered with the broken corpses of exotic beasts. Their innards were everywhere, and the air was filled with a thick stench of blood and burnt exotic beast corpses. It was very unpleasant. Those who had never seen such a scene before would probably vomit if they came here. At this time, an old man wearing beast armor walked over. This old man wore a golden 5-pointed star on his chest. The color of this 5-pointed star corresponded to the color of the beast cores. Rank 1, white. Rank 2, yellow. Rank 3, red. Rank 4, green. Rank 5, light blue. Rank 6, dark blue. Rank 7, gold. Rank 8, purple. And rank 9, 5-colored. In other words, this old man was a rank 7 warrior. After seeing this old man, Yang Tian immediately stood up. This old man was Qin Jingyang, Qin Fei's grandfather. When Yang Tian saw the golden star on Qin Jingyang's chest, he knew that Qin Jingyang was a rank 7 warrior. Chapter 18. Grandpa Qin, you're here. Seeing that it was Qin Jingyang, Yang Tian hurriedly stood up and scratched his head with a smile. Qin Jingyang looked at Yang Tian, who was covered in blood, and nodded with a smile. Not bad. You actually bought good equipment in just a few days. Before you came out, you were full of confidence. It's because your grandfather left you a beast core. You're already an enhancer, right? After Qin Jingyang finished speaking, he didn't wait for Yang Tian to reply and said, "Be careful outside. After you return to the city, come play at home and visit Xiaofei." After Qin Jingyang finished speaking, Yang Tian was stunned, then nodded happily. Okay. Yang Tian knew that Grandpa Qin said this because he approved of him. After exchanging a few words with Yang Tian, Qin Jingyang left. Seeing the scene of Qin Jingyang searching for high-grade beast corpses after he left, Yang Tian couldn't help but think, Grandpa Qin is a level 7 martial artist, Xiaofei's grandfather. Xiaofei's parents are also high-grade martial artists. Then why wasn't Xiaofei strengthened to become a martial artist? Was it the same situation as him? Xiaofei's parents didn't want her to take on the responsibility of a martial artist, and go out of the city to hunt beasts after becoming a martial artist? After becoming a martial artist, if they encountered a beast tide like this time, they had to go out of the city to fight the beasts. If they weren't careful, they would lose their lives. In this battle with the beasts, the martial artists weren't unharmed, especially those low-grade martial artists who rushed out of the city. Many of them were killed by the high-grade beasts. Yang Tian and the rest who were on the outskirts before the beast tide broke out didn't suffer any losses. Yang Tian couldn't figure it out. In the end, he could only shake his head and wait quietly. More than an hour after the battle ended, those high-grade martial artists finally left. This time, the high-grade martial artists killed many level 3 and above beasts and reaped a bountiful harvest. After the high-grade martial artists left, it was time for the low-grade martial artists to party. It wasn't easy to find beast cores in the corpses of low-grade beasts, because not all low-grade beasts had beast cores in their bodies. Many cultivators would use their weapons to cut open the heads of exotic beasts when they saw them, trying their luck to search for them. There were also some exotic beasts whose corpses had been burned beyond recognition, or whose corpses were so badly damaged that it was impossible to determine their level. Low-level martial artists tried their luck, but for Yang Tian, it was not so troublesome, because Yang Tian had the little blue dragon. The little blue dragon could sense the existence of the beast core from afar. Yang Tian thought for a while, and finally thought of a possibility. The beast core could emit a special kind of energy fluctuation, and this kind of energy fluctuation could be detected by the little blue dragon. Xiaolong, later on, I'll use my blade to move the corpse of the exotic beast. If there's a beast core in the corpse, scratch me with your claws to remind me. Got it? Yang Tian pulled open his collar and said to the little blue dragon hanging on his chest, "Squeak, squeak, squeak." The little blue dragon let out 3 squeaks, as if agreeing with Yang Tian's method. Yang Tian smiled slightly and began to move the corpse of the exotic beasts on the ground with his blade. Most of the exotic beast corpses were mutated wolves, but there were also tigers, bears, leopards, cats, pigs, and other beasts. These exotic beasts were the most abundant animals before the YS virus outbreak, and most of them were carnivorous animals. After the herbivores mutated, some became omnivores, while others still ate grass and leaves. These herbivores were the main source of food for the carnivorous mutated beasts. However, one should not underestimate the herbivores because these mutated beasts were equally powerful and could not be hunted down by ordinary humans. Yang Tian held the Tang saber in his hand and poked the corpses of the exotic beasts wherever he went. The little blue dragon's head peeked out from his collar and opened its eyes wide. Although there were many exotic beast corpses, most of them were low-level exotic beasts with no beast cores in their bodies. Yang Tian found hundreds of exotic beast corpses, but the little blue dragon did not give him any indication. However, he was not in a hurry. He walked toward the city wall, where the corpses of the exotic beasts were the most abundant. At this time, there were martial artists everywhere. Most of them excitedly split open the heads of the exotic beast corpses when they discovered them. They looked very busy. In fact, there was not much time left for the martial artists. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the city gates would open, and the people who were previously living outside the city would be released to deal with the exotic beast corpses. It was a hot day at this time, and the corpses of the exotic beasts would start to smell if left out for too long. While they were still fresh, they could take the meat to marinate and make it into daily necessities. In this way, every small beast tide was a great harvest for most people. The people outside the city could obtain large amounts of meat, and the supermarkets in the city would have cheap beast meat for sale. When Yang Tian passed by a charred corpse, he used his knife to poke it twice. The little blue dragon finally scratched Yang Tian's chest twice. This was the corpse of a mutated pig. The fur of this corpse had been burned off, leaving only charred skin. It was hard to tell what level it was. Yang Tian split open the pig's head with his knife. He used the knife to poke at the pig's brain, and a yellow object appeared. Rank 2 Beast Core. Yang Tian did not expect to find another Rank 2 Beast Core. Suppressing his excitement, he crouched down and quickly grabbed the beast core in his hand. Then, He walked forward as if nothing had happened. Taking advantage of the fact that no one was paying attention to him, he put the beast core into his trouser pocket. Yang Tian understood the principle of not showing off one's wealth. After finding a rank 2 beast core, Yang Tian's luck seemed to have improved. At 3:30, under the guidance of the little blue dragon, he found another 5 rank 1 beast cores. This was all thanks to the little blue dragon. Yang Tian's previous method was very stupid. If he had followed his method, it would have been good enough to find 1 or 2 beast cores. In the end, when he squatted down to tidy his shoelaces, the little blue dragon popped out half of its body from his collar and pointed to the front left with 1 claw. Only then did Yang Tian react. He knew that his previous method was too stupid. Warriors outside the city, take note. You will stop work at 4:00 sharp. The loudspeaker on the city wall issued a high-pitched reminder. This was a rule that had been formed over the past few decades. There was not much time left. Yang Tian was already very satisfied. This time, he had joined the battle and obtained 2 rank 2 beast cores. In addition to the one he obtained from killing the tank lizard, he now had 3 rank 2 beast cores. He had also obtained 5 rank 1 beast cores. After this matter was over, Yang Tian did not plan to return to the city. Instead, he wanted to train for a period of time because he felt that he had only left Tianxiong City for a few days. Satisfied, Yang Tian turned around and walked in the direction of Huangqiu City. Squeak, squeak, squeak. When Yang Tian passed by a broken beast head, the little blue dragon let out a series of low cries. Yang Tian could hear that the little blue dragon's cries were filled with excitement. It was a beast core. Yang Tian immediately squatted down and checked the remaining half of the beast head. It was a leopard head. The fur on the head was burnt black, leaving only a few golden hairs behind the ears. A rank 3 golden light leopard. Yang Tian was excited. He flipped the beast head over and used his finger to push the sticky brain matter. A red beast core appeared in front of Yang Tian's eyes. A rank 3 beast core. Yang Tian took a look and immediately grabbed the beast core. He stood up and put the red rank 3 beast core into his pocket. Chapter 19. Little brother, please wait a moment. When Yang Tian left the area filled with corpses, a burly man chased after Yang Tian and shouted behind him. Yang Tian stopped and turned around. The burly man came in front of Yang Tian with a simple and honest smile on his blood-stained face. Yang Tian looked at the burly man with vigilance. He didn't know why the man stopped him. Did he want to rob him of the beast cores? Thinking of this, Yang Tian clenched the knife in his hand. Seeing Yang Tian's vigilant look, the burly man waved his hand and said, "Little brother, please don't misunderstand. I just want to ask if you have joined a martial arts club." "No," Yang Tian replied lightly. "Great," the burly man shouted and laughed. "Let me introduce myself. My name is Zhao Wu. I am a level 1 fighter of Tianwei Martial Arts Club. I would like to invite you to join Tianwei Martial Arts Club. The 3 biggest martial arts clubs in Tianxiong City are Shunwei, Tianwei, and Yangwei." Yang Tian had heard of Tianwei Martial Arts Club before. This martial arts club recruits students, and the weakest one is an enhancer. This, Yang Tian hesitated. He didn't have the idea of joining a martial arts club yet. In fact, joining a martial arts club is not bad. You can use the various equipment in the club to practice combat skills. You can also practice the combat skills that are publicly available in the club without needing to buy them. The most important thing is that you have the opportunity to ask the high-level fighters in the club to practice combat skills. Seeing Yang Tian's hesitation, Zhao Wu took out a business card from his pocket and handed it to Yang Tian. "If you want, you can call this number. Tianwei Martial Arts Club welcomes you at any time." After saying that, Zhao Wu took his leave. Yang Tian looked at the business card. On it was printed the words Tianwei Martial Arts Club, and below it was a string of phone numbers. After putting the business card in his trouser pocket, Yang Tian turned around and found that 3 people were surrounding him. "Sunyu." After seeing one of them, Yang Tian frowned. He couldn't understand why so many people were paying attention to him today. "Long time no see, Yang Tian. We meet again Sun Yu came to a stop 5 meters away from Yang Tian, sized up Yang Tian, and said with a smile. At this time, the two people beside Sun Yu separated to the left and right, blocking Yang Tian's path. Yang Tian saw that Sun Yu and the other two were wearing silver 5-pointed stars on their chests. He knew that they came from the city and were all level 1 martial artists. The three of them were wearing leather armor. There were not many bloodstains on the leather armor, as if they had not participated in the previous battle. Since they were all level 1 martial artists, Yang Tian was not afraid of them either. He smiled and said, "You guys are stopping me. Do you want to fight?" Sun Yu said disdainfully, "Just the likes of you are also fit to make a move against us martial artists? I saw you sneaking into the martial artist team and stealing beast cores, so I came forward to remind you. Cut off one of your hands and you can leave. Otherwise, you can only leave your life behind." At this time, Yang Tian couldn't help but think of Sun Yu's insult to him after the assessment that day. He spat at Sun Yu's feet and said in a deep voice, "If you want one of my hands, chop it off if you have the ability. But I have to remind you that the saber in my hand has no eyes. When the time comes, I will kill you." "Oh, right. The auxiliary device in my hand has already recorded the process of your provocation. I believe that your Shunwei Martial Arts Hall has no reason to find trouble with me, right?" After Yang Tian finished speaking, the three of them noticed the saber in Yang Tian's hand. This saber was extremely sharp, bone-white, and the surface was smooth. At a glance, one could tell that it was an alloy saber with YT elements. Seeing this saber, the short-haired man on Yang Tian's left couldn't help but reveal a greedy look in his eyes. Sun Yu didn't believe that Yang Tian could become a martial artist in just a few days. He thought that Yang Tian was really lucky. He sneaked into the battlefield to steal beast cores and actually picked up a weapon and auxiliary device left behind by a dead martial artist. "Xiao Wu, chop off both of his hands, and the saber in his hand will be yours." Sun Yu thought for a moment, turned his head, and said to the short-haired young man on Yang Tian's left, "Thank you, brother Sun." The short-haired man smiled and thanked Sun Yu. He pulled out 2 alloy sabers from his waist and walked towards Yang Tian. It was the first time that Yang Tian fought with a level 1 martial artist, so he immediately tensed up. The short-haired man called Xiao Wu by as Sun Yu walked towards Yang Tian. His steps were getting faster and faster. When he was about 3 meters away from Yang Tian, he suddenly shouted and rushed towards Yang Tian. Although Sun Yu had told the short-haired man that Yang Tian was just an ordinary person, he still treated Yang Tian as an equal opponent. His first move was a killing move. The short-haired man saw the murderous look in Sun Yu's eyes and knew that Sun Yu didn't want Yang Tian's hands, but Yang Tian's life. This was Sun Yu's treachery. That day at the entrance of Shunwei Martial Arts Hall, Sun Yu wanted to kill Yang Tian. However, due to the rules of the Martial Arts Hall, he didn't do anything to Yang Tian. But outside the city, the situation was different. The rules of the Martial Arts Hall and the city didn't apply here. The short-haired man's speed was very fast, but Yang Tian's sharp vision allowed him to see the short-haired man's moves at a glance. When the short-haired man's double blades were about to reach him, Yang Tian held the blade with both hands and quickly took a step back. His body spun, and the blade in his hand turned into a circle of light, slashing across the short-haired man's neck. The neck was the short-haired man's weakness. In the blink of an eye, the two of them separated. Pooh! Yang Tian stood still, but the short-haired man fell to the ground. His head was separated from his body, and a bright red column of blood spurted out from his neck. In just one move, Yang Tian killed the short-haired man. At this time, Yang Tian realized something. His strength seemed to be stronger than an ordinary level 1 martial artist. He couldn't help but think of the time when he was strengthened by the little blue dragon's Dragon Ball and swallowed a level 1 beast core. Later on, when he practiced the Breaking Shadow combat skill, he was able to fully display the Breaking Shadow blade technique in just one day. This was different from the explanation at the end of the teaching video. In the instructional video, the martial artist who demonstrated the saber technique explained that this saber technique would take an average martial artist 3 months to be able to fully display it. Thinking of this, Yang Tian became more confident. However, he didn't underestimate Yang Yu and the other person. When Sun Yu saw Yang Tian kill Xiao Wu in one move, he was so scared that he couldn't help but take a step back. He looked at Yang Tian in surprise. "Come at me together." Yang Tian smiled disdainfully. He glanced at Sun Yu and the other muscular young man with a tiger head tattoo on his arm and said indifferently. The two of them reacted. Sun Yu pulled out a silver-white pistol from behind his back. Without saying anything, he fired at Yang Tian. Bang! The gunshot rang out. Yang Tian had already dodged. Before Sun Yu could fire a second shot, he rushed to the right and slashed at the tattooed man on the right. Among the low-level martial artists, many of them used firearms as their weapons. Of course, the guns they used were specially made and were more powerful. The bullets they fired could easily pierce through the fur of level 1 and 2 exotic beasts. Yang Tian didn't expect Sun Yu's weapon to be a gun. Luckily, he was paying attention to Sun Yu's movements, or he would have been shot. The advantage of using a gun was that it saved energy and could kill enemies from a distance. The weakness was that if the enemy moved very fast and was constantly moving, one would have to be faster than the enemy to hit them. Sun Yu was obviously not as fast as Yang Tian. Although he pulled out his gun and aimed at Yang Tian after pulling the trigger, Yang Tian still dodged. Bang! 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 Sun Yu kept firing at Yang Tian's flashing figure. However, every time, Yang Tian seemed to have eyes on his back. He didn't care about fighting the tattooed man, and even dodged the bullets flying at him. This was because Yang Tian was fast, and Sun Yu was a little wary of the tattooed man. Chapter 20. The tattooed man was using a foldable alloy machete. The blade was very thick, and Yang Tian's whitey elemental alloy machete could not break it in one hit. Clang, clang, clang. Yang Tian's figure flashed rapidly and tangled with the tattooed man's figure. Their weapons collided rapidly and made rapid clashing sounds. The battle between Yang Tian, Sun Yu, and the tattooed man immediately attracted a large number of martial artists to watch. When these martial artists saw that Yang Tian's seemingly weak body was able to deal with the attacks of two level 1 martial artists at the same time, they could not help but let out a sigh of admiration. The eyes of the level 1 martialist named Zhao Wu, who gave Yang Tian the name card, lit up. He said to the young man with long red hair beside him, "Xiao Fei, this is the Yang Tian I was talking about. He looks like he's not even 20 years old, but he actually has the combat power of a level 1 martialist. His future is unlimited." After Zhao Wu finished speaking, the red-haired young man nodded. "We must pull him into our Tianwei Martial Arts Hall." At this time, Sun Yu's magazine was finally empty. Pooh! Taking advantage of the moment when Sun Yu was reloading, Yang Tian finally found the opportunity to accumulate power. He paused for a moment and leaned his body to the side, dodging the blade of the tattooed man. His body turned, and the Tang saber in his hand was thrust forward and stabbed into the waist of the tattooed man. However, the tattooed man was extremely ruthless. He actually threw away the blade in his hand and grabbed the blade that Yang Tian stabbed into his body. Yang Tian used all his strength to pull the blade out, making a sound of friction between the blade and bone. It took a lot of effort for him to pull the blade out of the tattooed man's hand. Bang! At this time, Sun Yu fired. Yang Tian did not manage to dodge this shot. The bullet hit him in the shoulder. The bullet pierced a hole in Yang Tian's shoulder. The powerful momentum of the bullet sent his body flying. Bang! Yang Tian fell heavily to the ground. At this time, Sun Yu sneered and stepped forward. He locked the muzzle of his gun on Yang Tian and kept pulling the trigger. Bang, bang, bang. Yang Tian did not have a chance to get up. He endured the pain in his shoulder and kept rolling on the ground to avoid the bullets. Yang Tian couldn't dodge in time, and a bullet drilled into his left thigh. At this time, Sun Yu finished another magazine. Yang Tian endured the pain and got up from the ground. His uninjured right leg kicked off the ground and pounced at Sun Yu. Yang Tian and Sun Yu were separated by 7 to 8 meters, which happened to be within the range of Yang Tian's attack. Sun Yu changed the magazine very quickly. When Yang Tian rushed in front of him, he had already raised the gun, aimed at Yang Tian, and pulled the trigger. Bang! Bang! The bullet rushed out of the barrel, but it was blocked by Yang Tian's blade. Sun Yu was about to fire a second shot, but he found that his wrist was cold, and he instantly lost the feeling of his fingers. Yang Tian chopped off Sun Yu's hand that was holding the spear. Clang! At this time, Yang Tian's body had not landed on the ground, and he was about to cut Sun Yu's neck with his blade. A dagger flew from the distance, and the Tang Dao in Yang Tian's hand was deflected, and the blade swept across Sun Yu's face. The force of this blow was very strong, and Yang Tian's hand that was holding the blade was torn open, and the Tang Dao fell out of his hand. Bang! Yang Tian's body fell heavily on the ground again, and the inertia made him roll on the ground a few times before he stopped. At this time, Sun Yu held his wrist and screamed in pain. Although Yang Tian did not kill him, he broke his right hand. Even if the wrist was reattached, this hand would not be as flexible as before, and it was equivalent to being disabled. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. Sun Yu looked at Yang Tian, who was lying on the ground, and rushed over with a roar. Yang Tian gritted his teeth, and with a sneer on his face, he pulled out the dagger from his waist. Stop! At this moment, a middle-aged man with a blade on his back walked out of the crowd and shouted. When Sun Yu saw the person, he shouted happily, Brother Zhou. The middle-aged man quickly walked in front of Sun Yu and said indifferently, Why aren't you picking up your broken hand? Maybe it could be reattached. Then what about this kid? I won't let him go. I'm going to kill him. Sun Yu looked at Yang Tian and gritted his teeth. The middle-aged man frowned, looked at Yang Tian, and said to Sun Yu, He killed our Xinwei Martial Hall's people, so he naturally has to pay the price. After the middle-aged man finished speaking, he pulled out the large blade on his back and walked towards Yang Tian. Yang Tian stared coldly at this person. This person's aura was very strong, and according to Yang Tian's judgment, this person's strength had surpassed a level 2 warrior. Yang Tian wasn't afraid of this person because he had the little blue dragon. He believed that he could defeat this person, and at worst, he would just have to kill the little blue dragon. Sun Yu's 2 shots didn't hurt Yang Tian's vitals, but the wound was bleeding. He couldn't fight for long, so he thought that he had to end the battle as soon as possible. Zhou Dedeo, is this how your Xinwei Martial Hall bullies people? At this moment, a young red-haired man walked out and said with disdain. The middle-aged man with the surname Zhou stopped and looked at the young man with shoulder-length red hair. He frowned and said, Tianwei Martial Hall, Xiao Fei, I advise you not to interfere with our Xinwei Martial Hall's matters. Otherwise, if you provoke a dispute between the 2 halls, you won't be able to bear the consequences. From the conversation between the two, Yang Tian knew that the middle-aged man who wanted to kill him was called Zhou Dedeo, but he didn't know if it was his real name or a nickname. The red-haired young man was called Xiao Fei, and he was from Tianwei Martial Hall. Yang Tian saw that the aura emitted from Xiao Fei's body was comparable to Zhou Dedeo's. He guessed that both of them were level 3 warriors and above. After Zhou Dedeo finished speaking, Xiao Fei laughed. How is it none of my business? His name is Yang Tian, and he's from our Tianwei Martial Hall. Impossible. Just as Xiao Fei finished speaking, Sun Yu shouted, It's only been a few days. How could this brat join your Tianwei Martial Hall? Xiao Fei crossed his arms and looked at Sun Yu, who was holding his wrist, and said disdainfully, Of course, our Tianwei Martial Hall wouldn't take a liking to trash like you. Don't use your trash's thinking to judge others. You. Sun Yu looked at Xiao Fei, so angry that he couldn't speak. At this moment, Xiao Fei said to Zhou Dedeo, If you don't believe me, you can ask Yang Tian. Yang Tian didn't say anything, and only nodded with a smile. Zhou Dedeo looked at Yang Tian and Xiao Fei, coldly snorted, and quickly left. Yang Tian, one day, I'll make you wish you were dead. Sun Yu left behind a ruthless sentence, picked up his broken hand, and quickly ran towards the city wall. Xiao Fei smiled and came in front of Yang Tian. He patted Yang Tian's shoulder and said, "Yang Tian, now you should agree, right? In this chaotic world, a person's power is limited. If you join the Martial Hall, you can get the Martial Hall's protection. In the future, even if others want to find trouble with you, they have to consider the power behind you." Yang Tian nodded heavily. "Good. I'll join the Tianwei Martial Hall." Chapter 21. At 6:30 in the evening, Yang Tian was already lying in a ward in Tianxiong City Hospital. His wounds had been treated and were no longer bleeding. However, his face was a little pale. "Yang Tian, this is our Tianwei Martial Arts Dojo's entry contract. Take a look. If you have no objections, sign it." Zhao Wu handed a folder to Yang Tian and said with a smile. Yang Tian took it and opened it. He didn't find any problems and signed his name on it. "Yang Tian, welcome to Tianwei Martial Arts Dojo." After Yang Tian signed, Zhao Wu looked at it and extended his hand with a smile. He shook hands with Yang Tian. Xiao Fei, who was standing at the side, nodded with a smile. In order not to worry Qin Fei, Yang Tian didn't tell her about his injuries. However, at 8 o'clock in the evening, Qin Fei suddenly appeared in front of Yang Tian. Seeing Yang Tian wrapped up like a rice dumpling, Qin Fei's tears flowed out. She sat on the edge of the bed and pulled Yang Tian's hand. "Why didn't you tell me about such a big thing? Are your injuries serious?" "Little Fei, I'm fine. It's just some superficial injuries. I'll be fine after a few days of rest." Yang Tian smiled. After Yang Tian said that, he immediately said, "Don't tell my parents. They'll be worried if they know." Qin Fei nodded. The two of them chatted together. Not long after, Qin Fei told Yang Tian that she would be leaving with her parents to Europe's Hero City tomorrow. She would be receiving her university education there and wouldn't be back for a long time. This news surprised Yang Tian. He originally thought that Qin Fei would be studying in Tianxiong City's university. He didn't expect that her parents would send her to Europe's famous Hero City. Hero City was more famous than Tianxiong City. It was the world's #1 city. Naturally, the education there was better than Tianxiong City. "Don't worry. I'll think of you every moment. I'll wait for you all the time. Let's pinky swear," Qin Fei said with a smile when she saw Yang Tian frowning. Yang Tian had no choice but to hook his finger with Qin Fei. He originally thought that he and Qin Fei would be together very soon, but he didn't expect that things would change again. He guessed that Qin Fei's parents had some objections. "Xiao Fei, don't worry. When I become a high-rank warrior, I will definitely go to Hero City to look for you, I swear," Yang Tian said solemnly as he held Qin Fei's hand tightly. "Yes," Qin Fei nodded. Later on, Yang Tian talked about the battle that had just happened under Qin Fei's inquiry. Qin Fei listened with great interest, but the sadness in her eyes could not be concealed. Time passed quickly, and it was already 9:30 in the blink of an eye. A middle-aged man came in and urged Qin Fei. Only then did Qin Fei leave reluctantly. After Qin Fei left, Yang Tian used the auxiliary device to talk to his parents and reported that he was safe. As a martial artist, although he had not yet been certified, the Tianwei Martial Arts Hall also prepared a separate ward for Yang Tian. In the dead of the night, the little blue dragon climbed in through the window and jumped to Yang Tian's pillow, squeaking. Yang Tian was woken up by the little guy and opened his eyes. On the way back to the city, the little blue dragon found an opportunity to leave Yang Tian's side in order to not let others see it. It returned to Yang Tian's side in the middle of the night when there was no one around. "I'm afraid I won't be able to roast meat for you for the next few days. Let's talk about it again when I'm better." Yang Tian looked at the little blue dragon and whispered to it. The little blue dragon squeaked twice, then jumped onto the backpack at the head of the bed and went in. After a while, it came out with a yellow beast core in its mouth. When a martial art is cultivated, they would usually develop their own potential to the limit before swallowing higher-level beast cores. Only then could they improve their physical fitness to the limit of the corresponding level. Ever since Yang Tian swallowed the level 1 beast core, he found that his physical fitness could continue to improve, so he was not in a hurry to take the level 2 beast core. But at this time, the little blue dragon took out the level 2 beast core in its mouth, obviously wanting Yang Tian to swallow it. Yang Tian sat up and spread out his hands. The little blue dragon placed the beast core in his palm. Yang Tian did not hesitate and swallowed the yellow level 2 beast core into his stomach. Although he did not know why the little blue dragon wanted him to swallow the level 2 beast core now, Yang Tian knew that the little blue dragon must have its reasons. After a while, a warm current rose from Yang Tian's stomach and flowed throughout his body along with his blood. At this time, the wound was very itchy, as if it was healing quickly. Squeak, squeak. The little blue dragon squeaked twice, lowered its head, scratched its head with its claws, and then bit Yang Tian's wrist. Strangely, Yang Tian did not feel any pain from the little blue dragon's bite. A very deep hole appeared on Yang Tian's wrist. Yang Tian did not know why the little blue dragon wanted to bite him, but he was sure that the little blue dragon was not trying to hurt him. At this time, a drop of golden blood appeared from the top of the little blue dragon's head and dripped down. It fell on Yang Tian's wrist and entered through Yang Tian's wound. At this time, an electrifying energy spread from Yang Tian's arm and quickly spread throughout his body. Boom! Suddenly, Yang Tian felt as if his head was struck by lightning. There was a roar in his head, and he was in extreme pain. He instantly fainted. Squeak, squeak, squeak. At this time, the little blue dragon squeaked happily and went into Yang Tian's backpack. Yang Tian was dreaming again. This time, he transformed into a dragon again. But the difference this time was that he became a Xiao Long and was no longer as powerful as before. He was in a harsh environment and was surrounded by powerful beasts. In order to become stronger, Yang Tian began to fight. He kept on fighting and devouring other beasts, and he began to slowly grow. As if tens of thousands of years had passed, Yang Tian finally grew into an adult dragon. His body could be big or small. He could transform into a Xiao Long that was as long as a finger, or he could also transform into a dragon that was tens of thousands of miles long and covered the entire world. In such a dream, Yang Tian gained many magical abilities. He could understand the draconic language and the languages of other beasts. Dreams always have an end. Yang Tian finally woke up and opened his eyes. At this time, the sunlight that shone in from the window was shining into the ward. The ward was very bright. At this time, Yang Tian was still in a daze. His mind was filled with the scenes from a dream. Yang Tian, you're finally awake. Do you know that you've been in a coma for 10 days? I couldn't wake you up no matter how hard I tried. The hospital's examination proved that there was nothing wrong with your body. I was so worried. After a while, Zhao came in and said to Yang Tian with a smile when he saw him open his eyes. Zhao Wu's voice rang in Yang Tian's ears. Only then did Yang Tian slowly wake up. 10 days have passed. Yang Tian quickly regained his senses and asked in surprise. Qin Wu said, Yes. Take a look at your auxiliary device. Hasn't it been 10 days? Yang Tian immediately picked up the auxiliary device at the head of the bed. The small screen showed that it was July 12th, 2115. Chapter 22. The warrior assistive device has the function of a mobile phone. Yang Tian looked at the time and noticed that there were still a few missed calls. One of them was from Qin Fei, while the others were from home. Brother Zhao, let me make a call first, Yang Tian said as he put on his Bluetooth earpiece and used the device to call home. The call went through, but no one answered. Yang Tian guessed that his parents had gone to work, so he left a message saying that everything was fine and that he had joined the Tianwei dojo. He would be able to go back in a few days. After hanging up, Yang Tian called Qin Fei. No matter how powerful the exotic beasts were, they couldn't destroy the satellites launched by humans. All the safety zones in the world were connected to the internet. Even if Qin Fei was in Hero City in Europe, Yang Tian could still contact her. Hello, Yang Tian. The call went through very quickly. and Qin Fei's voice came from Yang Tian's Bluetooth earpiece. Have you arrived, Xiao Fei? Yang Tian asked the device. I arrived a few days ago. Oh, right. Why didn't you answer my call? Are you feeling better? Qin Fei asked, her tone full of concern. Yang Tian smiled and said, Don't worry, I'm fine. When you called a few days ago, I've been training in the dojo for the past few days. Yang Tian wanted to tell the truth, but after thinking about it, Qin Fei would definitely be sad if he said that he had been unconscious for 10 days, so he casually found an excuse. Qin Fei didn't probe further and said, It's good that you're fine. Call me often, okay? Yang Tian nodded heavily. Next, Qin Fei talked about her encounters on the way, saying that she had seen many exotic beasts and even saw her parents' subordinates fighting them. The two chatted for more than half an hour before hanging up. After hanging up, Yang Tian scratched his head and smiled awkwardly. Brother Zhao, sorry for making you wait. Zhao Wu smiled and said, It's fine. It's always like this when young couples chat. By the way, I'm here to pick you up from the hospital. We've already handled the discharge procedures for you. All the medical expenses will be paid by our Tianwei martial arts school. Huh, that's great. Yang Tian smiled and jumped up from the bed. Zhao was very considerate of Yang Tian and prepared a new set of clothes for Yang Tian. Yang Tian took a shower in the bathroom in the ward and changed into a black t-shirt, blue jeans, and a pair of white sneakers that Zhao Wu had bought for him. After changing his clothes, Yang Tian opened his backpack and found that the little blue dragon was hiding in it. When Yang Tian opened his backpack, the little guy knew that it couldn't make a sound and waved its claws at Yang Tian. Other than his backpack, Yang Tian's weapons were all there. Don't worry, Yang Tian. In here, no matter how precious the things are, they won't be lost. Unless someone doesn't want to live anymore. Zhao Wu said with a smile as he watched Yang Tian open his backpack to check. Yang Tian turned around and put the backpack on his back. He picked up the YT elemental alloy knife and said with a smile, Brother Zhao, thank you so much. If you have time tonight, I'll treat you to dinner and drinks. How about it? Zhao Wu laughed and said, Then it's settled. After leaving the ward, Yang Tian found that the ward was actually in the VIP area. The nurses walking in the corridor were all very beautiful young women. Yang Tian, during this period of time, the ones cleaning your body are two beautiful nurses. Do you want to ask them for their phone numbers? They'll definitely be willing to date a young martial artist like you. Zhao Wu said to Yang Tian as he looked at the two beautiful nurses passing by. Yang Tian smiled and shook his head. I already have a girlfriend. Sigh, another pure and innocent person. This kind of life is so boring. Zhao Wu shook his head helplessly and laughed. After leaving the hospital, Zhao Wu brought Yang Tian to a luxurious car. The car drove for more than 20 minutes in the city before stopping. Yang Tian got out of the car and found that they were already at the entrance of Tianwei Martial Arts Hall. Compared to Xinwei Martial Arts Hall, Tianwei Martial Arts Hall didn't look bad. It was also a beautiful building. After entering the martial arts hall, Zhao Wu brought Yang Tian to the assessment venue. In the car, Yang Tian requested to take the martial arts assessment. He wanted to know what level he was now. All martial arts halls in Tianxiong City could conduct assessments and have the right to determine a martial artist level. This kind of assessment wasn't fake at all because it was related to the martial artist's life and the honor of the martial arts hall. The entire assessment process would be recorded and the assessment data would be submitted to the management office of Tianxiong City for the record. There were 4 main aspects of the assessment: strength, speed, reflexes, and endurance. Each aspect had a score, and the overall score would reflect the martial artist level. The numerical value of each level was the result of several decades of statistics. Even if one swallowed a level 1 beast nucleus, if the overall score reached the standard of a level 2 martial artist, they would be considered a level 2 martial artist. Of course, this kind of situation had never happened before. If an enhancer didn't practice combat skills, it would be impossible for him to explore his potential to the limit and become a true martial artist. The strength test was the simplest. That was to continuously punch and kick the machine 10 times. The strength of the 10 punches and the strength of the 10 kicks were measured. Finally, the average value was obtained. Knowing that another newcomer was going to take the assessment, many martial artists in the nearby training grounds came to the assessment venue to watch Yang Tian's assessment. There were at least 50 martial artists in the audience. There were men, women, young people, and middle-aged people. All of them were staring at Yang Tian. It was the first time that Yang Tian was taking an assessment in front of so many martial artists. He was slightly nervous. Seeing that Yang Tian was a little nervous, Zhao Wu patted Yang Tian's shoulder and whispered in his ear, "The guys in the dojo only look at strength, not age. Although you're only 18 years old, if your strength surpasses theirs, they will have to call you Big Brother. Brother Yang, hee." This was a world where strength was respected. Yang Tian understood this very well. Putting down his bag, Yang Tian took a few deep breaths and came to the front of the strength test machine. The structure of the strength test machine was actually very simple. It just looked relatively large. On the surface, it was composed of a strength bar and a monitor. The strength bar looked like a huge joystick that could swing 360 degrees. The top was round, and the inside was filled with air. Ordinary people couldn't deflect the strength bar when hit on it. The strength test machine used by this kind of martial artist was completely different from the one used by Yang Tian when he participated in the Shunwei Dojo assessment last time. Yang Tian stood in front of the strength bar and calmed his mind. He clenched his fists, shook his head, and focused his attention on the strength bar. If he wanted to hit with the greatest force, not only did his physical strength have to be strong enough, the speed of his punches and kicks was also very important. Pung, 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 pung. Suddenly, Yang Tian punched. In a second, he punched 10 times toward the strength bar. The strength bar had already deflected when Yang Tian punched the first time. A string of numbers appeared on the monitor next to him, but Yang Tian didn't look at it at all. Before the strength bar bounced back, he punched a second time, then a third time. When Yang Tian stopped, the strength bar had already deflected by at least 5 degrees. A string of numbers appeared on the monitor. 1,238 kilograms. 1,238 kilograms. Seeing such a number, Yang Tian was very surprised. More than 10 days ago, when he participated in the Shunwei Dojo assessment, his strength was only about 200 kilograms. He didn't expect that in just 10 days, his strength had increased by 5 times. Chapter 23. Next was the leg strength test. The results showed that Yang Tian's leg strength was 1,600 kilograms. Seeing this result, the spectating martial artists were shocked. They did not expect Yang Tian's seemingly weak body to contain such powerful strength. He's a level 2 martial artist. A level 1 martial artist can't possibly have such powerful strength. I guess so. I didn't expect our dojo to have another level 2 martial artist. Level 2 martial artist? That's not necessarily true. Other than strength, there's also speed, endurance, and reflexes. The overall results reflect his level. Don't you think it's too early to judge based on strength alone? That's true. Many people have great strength, but their speed and reflexes are lacking. After Yang Tian finished the strength test, there was a buzz of discussion around him. Yang Tian was shocked when he heard others say that his strength had reached the level of a level 2 martial artist. At this moment, he recalled the time when the little blue dragon made him swallow a level 2 beast core in the hospital. Next was the speed test. This speed was not the speed of running. It was the speed of swinging a knife and punching. After beasts were infected with the YS virus, they would mutate. They would become bigger and their strength and speed would increase. It was not that humans did not have the YS virus in their bodies, but the changes were not as obvious. Their physical fitness did not improve by much, but compared to before the outbreak of the YS virus, a human's physical fitness had improved. The most obvious difference was that the average strength and speed of an ordinary human had increased by about 10% compared to before the outbreak of the YS virus. An ordinary human could punch 6 to 7 times in a second if they used all their strength. Those who had undergone training could punch 8 to 9 times. First, the speed of punching was tested. The testing machine was also a strength testing machine. Unlike before, it did not require as much strength as before. As long as the fist could make contact with the strength bar, it would suffice. Ready, begin. The dojo staff member in charge of recording the results shouted. Bang, bang, bang. Yang Tian's fist continuously landed on the strength bar. Stop. Suddenly, the staff member shouted. Yang Tian stopped. Soon, the display screen displayed the speed of Yang Tian's punching. Every second, 14. 5 punches. Yang Tian punched for a total of 10 seconds. In other words, in these 10 seconds, Yang Tian had punched a total of 145 times. Brother Zhao, how are the results? Yang Tian asked Zhao Wu Dao with a smile when he saw the results on the screen. Zhao Wu gave Yang Tian a thumbs up. You're amazing. An average level 1 martial artist could punch between 11 to 12 punches per second. If you could punch at a speed of 14. 5 punches per second, that would already be the result of a level 2 martial artist. Hee hee, that's great. Yang Tian scratched his head and laughed. At this time, Zhao Wu said, in fact, your speed can be even faster, but each of your punches is too heavy. On the other hand, the strength rod does not produce any rebounding force, so the speed at which you retract your fist will be slower. I estimate that you can increase your punching speed by at least 1 punch per second. With this kind of speed, after a period of training, you will be at the top of a level 2 martial artist speed. What's the fastest punching speed of a level 2 martial artist? Yang Tian asked curiously. The fastest punching speed of a level 2 martial artist is 16 punches per second. Zhao Wu replied. Yang Tian's punching speed once again caused the surrounding martial artists to discuss spiritedly. At this time, a red-haired young man walked in. The color of his hair was too eye-catching. Yang Tian was able to recognize him at a glance. This person was Xiao Fei, who had helped Yang Tian before. When Xiao Fei walked over, the surrounding martial artists automatically made way for him. It was obvious that Xiao Fei was a higher-level existence among these martial artists. Yang Tian had previously thought that Xiao Fei should be a level 3 martial artist or above. Xiao Fei walked straight to Yang Tian and looked at Yang Tian's results. He smiled and nodded. The punching speed of a level 2 martial artist, not bad. Continue to work hard. After Xiao Fei finished speaking, he walked to the side and crossed his arms, wanting to see Yang Tian's next test. The second test of speed was the speed of using a saber. A staff member of the dojo carried over a blackboard made of a special material and handed a long saber to Yang Tian. This was a Tang saber, which was much lighter than the YT elemental alloy saber Yang Tian used. Yang Tian weighed it and estimated that this saber weighed about 5 kilograms. At this time, a staff member of the dojo said, "This is a specialized testing saber with a standard weight of 5 kilograms. During the test, you can use your fastest speed for 5 seconds. Use the saber to leave a saber mark on the blackboard. When the test begins, you can give it a try." Yang Tian picked up the saber and waved it a few times on the blackboard, leaving many saber marks on it. Yang Tian felt that the blackboard's hardness was about the same as wood. All right, you can begin. After Yang Tian knew the hardness of the blackboard, he nodded to the staff member and said. The staff member tore off a layer of the saber marks on the blackboard, and the blackboard miraculously became very smooth again. Ready, begin, the staff member shouted. Yang Tian began waving the saber in his hand, continuously drawing a cross on the blackboard. Soon, the 5 seconds were over. The speed of using the saber was obviously not comparable to the speed of punching. The results were out. Yang Tian's saber speed was 12 saber strikes per second. Amazing! The saber speed of a peak rank 2 fighter. Yang Tian, you have practiced saber combat skills before, right? Zhao Wu said in surprise after seeing Yang Tian's results. Yang Tian nodded in. Basic combat skill, breaking shadow saber. No wonder. Zhao Wu suddenly realized, only those who have practiced combat skills can have such a fast saber speed. A rank 1 fighter's saber speed is 8 to 10 saber strikes per second, while a rank 2 fighter saber speed is 11 to 12 saber strikes per second. Don't underestimate the speed of each saber strike. Every increase in saber strike requires a long period of practice. Yang Tian nodded. After the speed test, Yang Tian's speed was still within the range of a rank 2 fighter. Even the speed of his saber strikes was already at the peak of rank 2 fighters. Next, it was the nerve reaction speed and endurance test. The nerve reaction speed test mainly tested one's eyesight. Yang Tian stood in the spacious field, and 3 rank 1 fighters stood in front of Yang Tian. They pulled out their Tang sabers from their waist and suddenly charged at Yang Tian, but he did not move. When the 3 fighters passed by him, Yang Tian smiled and said, Number 1, 36 saber strikes. Number 2, 40 saber strikes. Number 3, 52 saber strikes. The speed of the 3 fighters' saber strikes was different. To be able to tell the number of saber strikes of number 1 meant that he was a qualified rank 1 fighter. To be able to clearly see the number of saber strikes of number 2 meant that he had the fastest nerve reaction speed among rank 1 fighters. To be able to clearly see the number of saber strikes of number 3 meant that he was a qualified rank 2 fighter. To be able to simultaneously discern the number of saber strikes of all 3 meant that he had the best nerve reaction speed of a rank 2 fighter. A long time ago, the nerve reaction speed of a fighter was measured by a kind of instrument. However, the data obtained by the instrument could not truly reflect a fighter's nerve reaction speed. Later on, it was changed to a method that was closer to actual combat. Congratulations! Your results are enough to qualify you as a rank 2 fighter. The staff member in charge of recording looked at Yang Tian's results and said with a smile. At this point in the test, needless to say, Yang Tian was already a qualified rank 2 fighter. As for endurance, even if it did not meet the standard, it could still reach a qualified level through training. The endurance test was the same as the last time Yang Tian participated in the Shunwei Martial Arts Hall's assessment, which was to run with weights. The only difference was that the weights were several times more than before, and the time taken was shortened. The results of the test came out quickly, and Yang Tian obtained a high score of 95 points. After the results came out, the staff of the Martial Arts Hall immediately gave Yang Tian a yellow pentagram badge. In the middle of the pentagram, there are the words Tianwei Martial Arts Hall in red. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.